In shocking news, Donald Trump has announced that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will be working in conjunction to run the Department of Government Efficiency. Oh, thank God. Now, not all of those appointments have been the best. We were hoping to get Tulsi Gabbard in there somewhere. But actually, in a shock announcement, Trump has announced that Pete Hegseth is going to be the defense secretary. I'm totally cool with that. That's pretty cool. Just rather surprising, I guess. John Ratcliffe is going to be, I think he's what, CIA director? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
Because I heard some people were saying DNI, but no,
Didn't he used to be DNI?
Yeah, and he's going to be CIA director now.
Yeah.
So I'm actually hearing some pretty good things. I'm optimistic. We'll see how these things go. And man, there's so much news. CNN is going to start laying off their top talent. Do you guys know they paid Caitlin Collins $3 million? Wow.
Offensive.
That was a bad deal. So, and then the reports are that MSNBC is going to be sold off as the corporate press is done. And, I had an epiphany about it today, but we'll talk about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to preservegold.com/TimPool. My friends, you've heard me say it before. When it comes to physical gold and precious metals, we like Preserve Gold. Our friends at Preserve Gold have an exclusive offer for my viewers right now, where you can get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase, as well as a free guide. So go check them out on X. Preserve Gold has hundreds of 5-star reviews, millions of dollars in trusted transactions with happy clients. Again, head over to their X, check out their profile and their account, or text Tim to 50505 to learn more. And appreciate the sponsorship. They're always keeping the lights on for us, the sponsors that we got. So make sure you check it out at preservegold.com/TimPool. Also go to castbrew.com for the best cup of coffee you will ever have. Heavens me, we are sold out of Ian's Graphene Dream. Can't help it. People just think Ian makes great coffee and they keep buying it. But we do have Stand Your Grounds back in stock, as well as Rise with Roberto Jr. Cast Brew is our coffee company. So if you like coffee and it's the best coffee, everyone agrees. At least that's what I've been told. Then go to Cast Brew. Also head over to timcast.com, click join us to become a member and support our work directly. As a member, you can go onto our, 7 Days to Die? Is that what it's called? Is that the game?
Oh, yeah.
People in the Discord server have like this private zombie apocalypse game. Like, I don't know. They're doing all sorts of really awesome stuff. And they always say, Tim, you got to shout the Discord out because we've got a bunch of really cool stuff happening. Morning shows, after shows, video games. If you're trying to figure out how to get involved and you want to be a part of the movement, you're like, what do I do? Timcast.com. Sign up, because when you do, you are supporting all the work that we do here at Timcast, and you're joining a massive and amazing community where you will actually also get to talk to us and our guests on our members-only uncensored show Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. So again, smash that like button right now. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Myron Gaines.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm happy to be here.
Not much. Who are you? What do you do?
Myron Gaines, one half of the Fresh Fit podcast. We cover dating, relationships, how to make money, how to get girls, how to be attractive, kind of navigate the dating marketplace in a very difficult world for guys nowadays. We also cover politics, cultural stuff, bunch of stuff, man, self-improvement in general. So, and then I also have a true crime channel called Fed Reacts, where I, react to a bunch of different cases, Zodiac Killer documentary. Yes, I was a special agent of Homeland Security for 7 years as an agent, and then 3 years as an intern. I started my career in Laredo, Texas. Then I went on to Miami. So definitely some interesting developments that have come out with, Homeland being labeled the borders are, which we could talk about that later on.
Definitely. I'm loving it.
Yeah. I think
that guy's going hard.
I think he needs to be the Secretary of Homeland Security, which I could talk about that in more detail, but, we can get there whenever you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah, right on, man. Should be fun. We got Libby. She's back.
I'm back. I'm glad to be here. I missed you guys. I'm Libby Emmons with The Post Millennial and Human Events. Happy to be on the show tonight.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Tim?
Here's the big story to start off. Breaking, Trump announces creation of DOGE. I can't.
It's been memed into existence.
Donald Trump has announced DOGE. I kid you not. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will be leading up the Department of Government Efficiency. I love this. I'm so happy Donald Trump won. The Republicans, they got the House. Mm-hmm. They're at 219 right now, according to Decision Desk. And
the Times still hasn't called it.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
They've played themselves.
And Fox hasn't called it. But let me just say, Elon Musk has memed into existence a government agency called DOGE. And, well, we have the statement here. Actually, Libby, you wrote this. Do you want to read the statement?
Yeah, let's see. I could read the statement. I didn't really write it. Whoever wrote it for Donald Trump, and I just put it into the article. I'm pleased to announce that the great Elon Musk, working in conjunction with American patriot Vivek Ramaswamy, will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Together, these two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies essential to the Safe America movement. This will send shockwaves through the system and anyone involved in government waste, which is a lot of people, stated Mr. Musk. It will be the Manhattan Project of our time. It goes on for a while. Vivek Ramaswamy replied to it as well, so that's sort of...
I saw that he posted the
He said,
statement.
"We will not go gently, Elon Musk." That's what he said.
Oh, my God. They
Totally wild.
He memed.
Yes.
There's now a government meme department. Like, it's a department based on memes.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on.
At least we're having fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is a couple of things occur to me. First off, which is we're shrinking government by adding a government agency to shrink government. So I hope that that's effective in that process and not actually just creating another government agency. If you remember back when DHS was created under George W. Bush after 9/11, the idea was that, this would bring together a bunch of agencies all at once and, combine things and make things a little streamlined. And instead, it has a $60 billion budget and hundreds of thousands of employees under DHS. And it really expanded. It's bloated. So I'm really hoping that Vivek and Elon can get in there and actually do some trimming instead of just staffing up.
I heard RFK Jr. is going to fire 600 staffers. Is that true?
On the first day?
He hasn't even been named to the FDA yet. Right. So he doesn't have a position as yet.
There was rumors going on X that his
look at government and you think about, I don't know if you guys have ever worked in offices. I don't know if that's working in an office. There's a lot of nothing that just goes on. And then you sit around for a while, then you order lunch.
I can speak to this. When I was working for the government, I worked for Homeland Security Investigations under ICE. And there are a lot of bureaucratic positions that, quite frankly, aren't really needed. I'll be honest, most of the work done by the government is done by 20%. The other 80% aren't doing anything.
So it's like in normal offices.
Exactly. But it's even worse because government employees have almost no incentive to actually work hard because it's a salary that's kind of set depending on what your GS or GL level is, depending on what pay scale you are. So, then on a Friday after 3 p.m., nobody's doing anything. Everyone leaves early, et cetera. So, I'll say it. Government employees are fucking lazy. That's just what it is.
Well, I mean, it's because they're impossible to fire.
Right.
Yes. Very
and also there's no bottom line. So it's not like you're beholden to anything. Mm-hmm. If you screw up in your government position, it's not like, the company loses money. I mean, the company does, but you don't care because that's just our money.
This is the libertarian argument to everything. But if you don't have a market, which the government doesn't actually participate in the market, if you don't have a market to give you feedback, people think that markets are inherently bad or they're just for people to make money. Prices are information. If you have something that isn't selling, that's feedback from the market. Without prices, without actual competition, without feedback from the market, you don't know if you're actually successful or not. And with the government, they just print the money when they want to do something. Mm-hmm. So they can
or they take more of ours.
Well, I don't want to get into that argument. Not that argument.
Okay.
The thing is, if they want to do something, they just print it, right? Taxes and inflation are used to
or they just take a debt. They'll just go to a company and be like, do it, and we'll owe you the money. Trust us.
Yeah.
And they got to raise the debt ceiling.
But the point being, there is no competition, so they don't care what it costs. Mm-hmm. You hear stories about, I don't know if these are current, but you hear stories about $10,000 hammers, because if you don't use all of your budget this year, they will cut your budget. So you have to spend all that money.
In education, they do that too.
Exactly. So
I can speak to the law enforcement side. There's only a small minority of the agents that do most of the work, right? Like they'll go ahead and do the big arrests, do the big roundups, etc. Like the case agent is the guy that runs the case, and then he has people helping him. But very few officers have like go-getter agents. Most guys are in there from 10 to 3 p.m. and they don't do anything. They don't do surveillance. They barely write reports. They're not doing crap. So I remember like I'd be the guy that'd be up late at night. Hey, I need some guys to help me with surveillance. Oh, bro, do you have to work now? I'd have to get the task force officers out because they get overtime and that gets funded by the federal government. So they would love to do it. So I would always take the TFOs out, but I would never go out with actual agents because they never want to work.
They just didn't want to do the job.
They don't, man. They don't. Especially after a couple of years, they got a family. They don't want to do shit.
Yeah.
And so you'd call them and be like, it's time to do work. And they'd be like,
they'd get pissed at me all the time. When I want to do surveillance, because I was in a drug group, when I would do late night surveillance, especially on the southwest border where illegal aliens and drugs are coming in like, every day, you're watching a house, you need people to help you out. Hey, I need a couple units to help me out with this. They're like, bro, why do you got to do this, man? Stop working so hard. Because I was like 24 when I got there. So, yeah.
The idea that you were told stop working so hard in a
all the time.
In a law enforcement, I mean, it's like, look, man, if you're in the Department of Education or if you're in like Health and Human Services or if you're in, I mean, even the Department of Energy, Sands, anything that's not the nuclear stuff, I could forgive someone saying, stop working so hard. But you're talking about legitimate law enforcement. That means that
and it gets even better.
Lives are on the line.
It's even better. This is the cream of the crop, right? To be a special agent or 1811, they hire less than like 2 to 3% of their qualified applicants, right? It's a GS-13 position, right? Which is basically like not managerial, but you kind of run your own schedule, take home car, all that. And they're still being lazy. So this isn't even accounting for the majority of government employees that don't have that type of authority. And they're even worse. So if they're being lazy like this at the top level, you can only imagine at the lower ones.
It's unreal.
The problem with government agencies is that, for one, it's extremely hard to fire people.
Yes, very difficult.
They hire people and then you can't fire them. So it's a one-way ticket into the machine and there's just no way to dismantle it.
Or if you do fire them, this happens a lot of the times too. Let's say you get fired and you like sue. What'll happen is they don't want to deal with it. They'll hire you back. They'll give you your back pay. And then they just kind of put you like at a desk job where they don't got to deal with you. And then they just let you kind of, do your 20 and get out.
You know what people I think need to consider about this bureaucracy stuff is that a lot of it is fake economics. It's manufactured economic stimulation.
Yeah.
They don't want to get rid of a lot of these jobs because they want to take your money and give it to someone so they have busy work. This is a staple of socialist and communist countries.
Yep.
So like when I went to Venezuela, they make fake jobs for the purpose of someone having a job. Then they tax you and use that to pay the person and make you pay it. Mm-hmm. We have this problem in the United States. That's why I'm excited for a DOGE, so they can just nuke it. Just got to do it.
Cut it. Just cut it.
Yeah, well, this is true for like healthcare, right? So everybody agrees, whether you're on the right or the left, the healthcare system is wacky and it makes no sense. The problem is every time someone goes to members of Congress and like, how do we fix it? They go, it's 20% of our economy. Mm-hmm. Like, you need that woman in the bureaucratic position shuffling papers back and forth because it facilitates the exchange of value between people. That's it. It's busy work.
It is busy work. Yeah. And the other thing, too, that is interesting is you had Kamala Harris running on labor, and saying she was going to bring labor together. There's a huge difference between public sector unions and private unions because private unions work for companies that have bottom lines. And so if you're a private sector union worker and you ask for a raise, and your union asks for a raise, you're going to look at the bottom line of that company and you're going to say, this is the value we provide. This is the increase in the, profit that you get. Let's negotiate here. But with government unions, all they have to do is say, we want a raise, and they're negotiating against nothing. They just, as Phil was saying, you print more money, you tax more, you don't care where the money comes from, you just spend it. So public unions, their entire job is to just continue bloating the government.
Yeah. And then it used to be, for a lot of these positions, it used to be something called a competitive 13 or a journeyman, which would get you into the 6-figure range for most 1811 positions. I know DEA had it. U.S. Customs Service used to have it before the merger with DHS, but they did away with it in a lot of these agencies. So you basically make, you get to GS-13, you're making 100 to 150,000, depending on what AOR you are. And there's no reason to like go harder because you're like, oh, I make my money, I'm going to get it no matter what. And then especially with law enforcement with the 1811s, they got something called LEAP, law enforcement availability pay, which is basically 25% plus their base salary. And that comes no matter what and no matter how many hours they work. So they're less incentivized to go out there because it's not based hourly or overtime or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We do have more appointment news, but I got to get to this second because this story I actually thought was kind of bigger. but the news broke about, Elon. From Newsweek, Kamala Harris is fundraising towards a recount. I actually was kind of surprised when I mentioned this. Libby didn't believe it.
I didn't believe it because, what is she, an election denier? What's going on?
It's weird because they don't, the speculation is that it's going to go towards the House recounts or Senate recounts, something like this. Bob Casey is refusing to give up Pennsylvania despite the fact that he lost.
Right. And he even went on a tour of he even was like hanging out today, right?
Yeah. And Schumer was trying to block McCormick from coming in for orientation. So the Democrats are not giving up. And I find it fascinating because when Republicans are like, hey, we're going to challenge this, the media just took a dump all over the floor and screamed election denier for 27 years.
Yep.
Yes.
Now you got Kamala fundraising for a recount. I don't care what the reason is. They're stupid people who she conceded.
Yes.
She said, I'm out later.
Yep.
And she's sending out emails where they're like, her recount fund needs your money, and they're going to give it to her.
Of course.
Yeah, her entire schedule today was lunch with Joe Biden. And speaking of lazy, you were talking about lazy and bloat and government. Kamala Harris hasn't done anything for 4 years.
Yeah.
She got the gig from what?
33 tie-breaking votes in the Senate.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, that shoveled the Democrat agenda down our throats.
It sure did.
Yeah.
But that was, that's only 33 times that she went to the Senate. I bet she wasn't even there any of the other times. And when Biden appointed her border czar in March 2021, right? She talked to the president of Guatemala twice, said that the root cause of immigration was violence against LGBTQ people in the
That's
northern
not true?
triangle countries. And then by June, her office was saying, that's not our job, you guys. We're totally not even doing that anymore.
It's incredible to me that, and this is the issue too, where you can't have these state officials coming in and running immigration because immigration is a federal matter. And Title 8, which is the immigration under the INA, it's a very nebulous situation. And unless you work in immigration and you've done that type of law enforcement before, you're really not going to understand it. So state officials have no concept. She said a million times in her interviews, oh, I was the only prosecutor to prosecute transnational crime. Dude, you're in San Francisco. Like, you weren't dealing with anything really going on at the border. Like, come on. By the time you're dealing with it, you're like 5 or 7 levels removed from the organization.
I've heard that no one's even confirmed she tried any cases.
Yeah, probably. I mean...
If you look at it, I saw a breakdown and it was probably maybe 10.
Yeah.
10? That's a big number.
Big number. Yeah.
And how many?
And then anything, to be honest, anything that's like actually sexy like that, it's going to go to the feds. It's not going to go to the state, man. Like the feds are going to take it.
Transnational crime.
Yeah,
It's not going to be some local prosecutor.
Yeah, if the local prosecutor takes it, it's a weak case, like the YSL case that Fannie Willis took.
Everybody knows how this goes. The local guy comes in and sees a murder, and then the feds come in and go, out of my way. This is my scene now. And it's like, hey, you can't throw me out of here. And the feds take over.
It's like on Matlock.
Exactly.
Yes.
We know
That's
exactly.
actually not how it really goes. Because
don't you lie to us. We know what you're doing.
But
how many times have you walked into like a local cop and said, "Gad, here's my crime scene"?
You know what? It's so that's what they put in the movies, but that's actually like not true. Because like if you do that, that will mess you up. Because this is the thing, like the state and locals are like the most vital resource you have as a Fed, because the state and locals have information and resources a lot of times that you don't, where you can put more boots on the ground and help you out, especially if you're running like a large scale investigation. I always prefer to work with the state and locals over other Feds, because the state and locals will just go harder because they'll go out there surveillance with you at 2 a.m. because they get overtime, versus the Feds won't. Yeah. So your state and local partners are super important. And the other beautiful thing is that they have state authority, and if they're a task force officer, they also have federal authority. So let's say you need a traffic stop done. He can call one of the local guys, traffic stop the guy, have him identified. You can get him on some type of state infraction, right? And meanwhile, you're running the federal investigation. They don't even know about it because they're getting T-stopped or something else. Or you can get them arrested on a state charge, use that as leverage to build an informant. So
wait,
many
can I
ways.
ask you a question?
Sure.
So you had Tom Homan was appointed to deal with the border and head up ICE. And he was talking on Charlie Kirk today, and it was actually the best interview I've seen because he actually got a chance to like lay everything out. But he was talking about what happens in sanctuary cities if the local and state law enforcement won't help. And he said that he would have to double up agents. How much do you think that the lack of local assistance to ICE would be a hindrance?
I can talk about this in detail. Okay, so I actually worked under Homan when I was an agent with Homeland. And the way sanctuary cities work, and there's a bunch of them in the United States. We can use San Francisco, Austin, New York City, et cetera. Your typical blue cities. The way it works is this. Let's say someone gets arrested for a DUI. They suspect that he's an illegal alien, whatever it may be, but state authorities don't have immigration authority, so they can't really determine alienage. So what ends up happening is they'll arrest them, and ICE in that jurisdiction, typically, they'll get a manifest of everyone that's arrested. If they see someone they think is an illegal alien, right, because they'll run the immigration checks, etc., they'll put something called a detainer on that individual, and then the state and locals are supposed to hold him for ICE to come. So when he gets out on bond or whatever, immigration is there ready to lock him up.
When we've seen all these reports about, like, you know, some horrible person raped some child in Massachusetts, and it'll say that they were held on a detainer, but then they wouldn't turn them over to ICE.
Yes, because what'll happen is when it's time to release the guy, they won't notify ICE. They'll just let him go because they're like, we're a sanctuary city. We don't want to deal with this. We're not going to help you guys. So they won't hold the body. And then the guy will get released. And that's how you end up with a lot of these problems. So, and I mean, hell, it's gotten so bad. I'll never forget this vividly. We had a arrest warrant for a guy in Austin, Texas. This is maybe 10 years ago. And it was for human smuggling, which is a felony, 8 U.S.C. 1324. Anybody can look it up. It's a federal felony, but it's under the INA. So we get an arrest warrant for this guy, want to go pick him up because he was a coordinator moving illegal aliens into the United States through Laredo, Texas, into Austin, which was one of the
He was like a
hubs.
drug dealer of people.
Exactly. Which illegal aliens, which I can explain this too, all illegal aliens that come into the United States are typically utilizing some type of human smuggling organization to get in. It's a very refined process because the cartels run it and there needs to be money made, but that's a whole other example. But the point is that this guy, we had an arrest warrant for him, federal arrest warrant. We tell Austin PD, hey, we want some marked units. We're going to go out and get this guy. This is the address. They didn't want to come out. And we're like, why not? This is a federal warrant. No, like it's immigration. I don't know. It's like, no, dude. Yeah, it's an immigration violation, but it's a felony. Like this is an arrest, a federal arrest warrant. Yeah, no, we're gonna stand down on this. And this happens all over the place in the United States. And this is a big reason why Immigration Customs Enforcement, because there was two different agencies. There was Immigration Customs Enforcement Office of Investigations. That's where the special agents were, and then Enforcement Removal Operations. ICE Office of Investigations changed their name to Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, to not have the immigration in their name so that people don't think that's all they do, because they also have customs authority too, et cetera. So they had to rebrand because it was so difficult to get state and locals on board with conducting some of these operations.
Interesting.
That's how bad it is.
So that is going to be a hindrance to him.
It's very bad. Anytime you see one of these illegal aliens getting out of a local jail, 9 out of 10 times, a detainer wasn't honored that was placed by ICE.
There was one story, I think it was in Ohio, that the federal government brought in illegal immigrants and said, hey, can you hold these guys for us real quick, just for overnight, because we need somewhere for them to stay? And the local sheriffs, they're like, yeah, for sure, bring them in. And then the feds ran off.
Oh, yeah.
And then like the next day, the sheriff woke up and they're like, what do we do? Like, we got all these illegal, and they were like, let them go. So they just let them go into these small towns.
Yeah,
that's what's been going on under the Biden administration.
That's so
ridiculous.
messed up.
Well, and the other thing too, I find it interesting because when Kamala would do her interviews or her debates or whatever, and she would always talk about, oh, I was going to pass this immigration bill, I was going to hire this many more Border Patrol agents, and Trump actually stopped the bill from passing because he needed a problem campaign on blah, 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 blah. I could tell you this irrefutably. When I was in Laredo, Texas, Trump was way better and more efficient at getting rid of illegal aliens coming into the United States, by far, not even a comparison. And the reason why is because when these illegal aliens would come into the United States, and this is why I'm so big on Homeland needs to be the Secretary of Homeland Security, not just the borders are, because he needs to oversee all the immigration agencies. When aliens would come in, they would get something called an expedited removal. And an expedited removal, what it is that person is deported back to Mexico within 2 weeks of them coming in. Why is this important? This is important because he doesn't burden up the immigration system that we have. Because in the immigration world, we have immigration judges, etc. So they come in, they process them, fingerprint them, etc., put them into AFIS, all this other stuff in the database, assign an alien number, and then they deport them within 2 weeks. Versus what they're doing now is, and I think you spoke with one of my buddies, Zach Opathiker from Border Patrol. He talked about this as well when I had him on, is what they're doing now, a lot of these aliens are coming in, they're getting something called a notice to appear, release unknown recognizance, ROR. So not only are they allowed to stay, they're sent to where they wanted to go. They're given paperwork, and then they're supposed to show up to see an immigration judge. But this might not happen for years because the immigration system is so backed up.
Yeah.
So backed up. So, but under Trump, we didn't have that crap. We were sending everybody back. And then on top of that, to get better, if you got caught more than once, you would get hit with a felony called 8 U.S.C. 1326, illegal reentry. So And we were prosecuting these guys. Border Patrol was prosecuting them. HSI was prosecuting them. It was so many people that we were prosecuting for that even Border Patrol took some of those cases for felony prosecution. So we were way harder on the border under the Trump administration than under the Biden-Harris administration. And anyone that says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about.
You can just see the numbers.
Yeah,
like
the
the
numbers
graph
are
is just like it goes red, blue. It's like blue, red, and then blue, and it skyrockets under Joe Biden.
Yeah, and
that's what we know
That's
about.
the magic. That's the blessed graph, right? Is that the blessed chart?
And here's the crazy part. Like, they might not be counting certain deportations because a lot of aliens come in, get caught, and they'll just voluntarily leave. Or the expedited removal I mentioned. I don't know how they're compiling their statistics, if they're compiling every single deportation that comes in and how they're processing it. Because when an illegal alien comes into the United States and law enforcement encounters them, there's multiple ways to process that alien and then remove that alien.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But what, Biden doesn't do it? They basically dismissed all the cases without adjudicating them. Said, I guess you live here now.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah,
they basically let him in.
mass amnesty.
Right? That's why they had that CBP1 app.
It's like pseudo amnesty where they said, "Oh, you're here. Well, you better go to court." Then a month later, they're like, "Don't worry about court." So there's no
Yeah, so
official
you're just
status,
here,
but you're just here.
But they have no legal status.
Not even a
which is
month.
wild.
It could be years, Tim, because the immigration system is so backlogged.
No, what I'm saying is, when they came in and they gave them, "You better go to court," a month later, they would call in and they'd be like, "No, we canceled your court appearance. Bye." Click. And so they were in limbo. They have no official status, but they also have no enforcement action against them, so they just stay here and work.
That happens sometimes.
They were doing that to hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
That was Biden's pseudo amnesty that he granted, where basically the Biden admin dumped like 300 cases saying we're not going to even bother with these, creating. Dude, I got to tell you, the Democrats were creating a serf class.
They sure were, on purpose.
People who can't vote, people who struggle to get access to the system, but who are also not citizens, and they were going to have them do low-skilled labor. So you have a working class that can't vote and affect your system.
And they were
but
even saying this
they get
blatantly.
congressional seats by it.
Right.
So what the Democrats have then is a congressional seat will be created with 600,000 American citizens and then 175,000 illegal immigrants. That gives the Democrat a position where that 175K cannot vote, so they get free political power.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
insane.
No, it's ridiculous. Americus needs to be removed immediately. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because the thing is, with the Secretary of Homeland Security, they are the ultimate immigration official because they are over all the law enforcement agencies and all the agencies that oversee immigration into the country, right? Outside of non-immigrant visas, which is the State Department. That's a whole other thing. But this has been a huge failure from a border security standpoint, and Americus needs to be removed. You need to put people in that are more aggressive.
There was a Texas judge recently who said that a plan that the Biden-Harris administration put into place to essentially grant legal status to the spouses and stepchildren who are illegal, but they're connected to Americans, they wiped that out and said you can't just automatically give these people status just because they are here. And I thought that was kind of great.
I love this this headline from the Daily Beast,
somehow,
though. We're not going to read the story because it's locked, but Trump borders are to undocumented immigrants. We are coming for you.
That's there's literally
Homan
there's
said that.
literally a mandate.
I know, but
for
like,
that.
Yeah.
The American
You're
people
here illegally. What?
The
There is a
American
mandate
people, it's
for it.
something like 70%, 75% of the
a
American
huge
people have
number.
said, we believe that, or we want to see deportations.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, we just want to, control the border. Straight up, we're comfortable with the things that are going to happen when you start deporting people.
Well-
If 70% of the American people believe that, it doesn't matter how uncomfortable the talking heads on the internet or the talking heads on TV are with it. That's what the American people want. That's part of why Donald Trump was elected.
And I'll say this too. So immigration, it's kind of a catch-22, right? If you enforce it, people look at you as a family wrecker, evil, etc. But if you don't do it, obviously you look at you're not doing your job. And it's kind of like a political hot potato. And I could say this because I've worked under both Obama, Trump, and Biden, on 3 different presidents. And what I will tell you is when there's a Democrat in office, ICE enforcement removal operations, who is responsible for the domestic location and apprehension of illegal aliens that are in the country, they are significantly neutered when there's a Democrat in office. Everyone knows this, right? That's on the job, that they're not going to go out and pick up aliens like they normally do. Unless it's like a violent criminal alien, they're typically not going to do their job like they're supposed to. They're just hanging around when the Democrat's in. So, but when Trump came in, everyone's getting deported. They were going out. They were doing raids. ICE was actually doing their job on the ERO side. So it's a very it's an agency that's contingent upon who's in office.
Yeah, there was
Unfortunately.
one of the big stories that we had seen during the Trump administration was that there were a bunch of meat processing plants. They raided, they arrested, I think, 800 individuals. And then this is what I love to hate about the corporate press. The corporate press shows up to a job fair after the fact, and they see Americans, white Americans, and we're aghast. There was like a white guy walking up to the job fair, and they were like, "Sir, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm here for a job." And they were like, "Why would you want to work this low-skilled job? These are jobs Americans hate." And he goes, "It pays more than the gas station." Like, these are jobs Americans wanted.
Yeah.
And they were giving them to non-citizens.
I find that to be really shocking as well. And this is something you repeatedly hear from Democrats, is that Americans don't want to take these jobs. I have not met an American who's like, oh, there's a job or I could suck money off the government. I think I'll just suck money off the government. Like, that's not an American ethos. It's not what any of us are raised to really think. You know, we're raised to say, like, we want to take care of ourselves. We want to provide for our families. We don't want to be a burden to the government. And we certainly don't want the government to be that closely involved in our lives. And these are jobs that Americans are perfectly happy to take. Chuck Schumer thinks that Americans don't want jobs, and I think that's totally bogus. And I'm really stoked to see, you know, Trump call that out repeatedly. It's to the point where he showed up and you know, worked the fryer.
That was great. And I loved Bill Burr's bit on SNL. He was getting ragged on by a lot of people, but no, he was said when Donald Trump stood behind that counter is when he was like, you could tell he was truly happy. He was like, wow, this is where they do the French fries. I agree. Like, Trump was so excited to be there. That's not a bad thing. That was great. Trump was really excited to make the French fries, and he was like, Trump put extra fries in, and he's like, someone's going to be real happy when they. Yes, that's all true. Trump was super excited to give people food.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing.
And I do want to say, because you mentioned worksite enforcement, which you mentioned when they raided the thing, that's something called worksite enforcement. HSI does those a lot of the times.
It happened just here like a week ago, or a few days ago.
So worksite enforcement
Not here at Timcast.
under Democrats. Worksite enforcement under Democrats almost always is much harder to pull off, because the thing is that you're not going to do a worksite enforcement case and go after the company and the people that employ the illegal aliens unless it's like egregious whenever you have Democrats in, right? We're talking about hundreds of illegal aliens, deplorable work conditions, etc. But under Trump or whatever, hey, look, he's got this many guys employed. This is a problem, etc. Especially in this area, it was way easier to get worksite enforcement cases done.
So some of the people who work here are mentioning that there's a bunch of IHOPs in the area, and they all got raided, and people are getting taken out and stuff, like putting cars. Let's jump to this story. We got big news. This was rather shocking from the Post-Millennial. Trump names Pete Hegseth to lead Department of Defense. Quote, I am honored to announce that I have nominated Pete Hegseth to serve in my cabinet as a Secretary of Defense. I was actually shocked.
I am shocked as well.
But I'm
Very young guy.
I'm excited. He's a young guy, and
He's a vet, which is cool.
He's a vet. He's got real experience. Trump was just saying, take Liz Cheney and put her on the battlefield and see how quickly she regrets voting for these wars. So I'm excited to see this, and a lot of people are really excited. I want to give a shout out to this tweet here. This is great. This is from Bochi Red State, who said, I mean, sure, Pete Hegseth is an Ivy Leaguer with multiple tours who spent over 20 years in the military service before becoming a veterans advocate, but he didn't work for Raytheon and hire drag queens for recruitment, so is he really qualified?
Well, I guess not.
I'm seeing, shout out to our friends, the Krasensteins, our go-to liberals. They're like, Pete Hegseth is not smart enough to defend this nation. I can't believe it.
There's already, I didn't save it, but I saw a tweet by Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, and I hear rumors or whatever that Pete Hegseth will probably face resistance in the Senate.
That's too bad.
Get to the Senate? Like, is he even going to get to the Senate? Like, Trump has been very pushing about this recess appointment.
Yes, I would love to see.
And each of the three guys who are on the secret ballot for Senate Majority Leader tomorrow have said, "Oh, sure, we'll do recess appointments, no problemo."
I would love to see.
How does that work?
Recess appointments is so the Senate will say we're going to take a break for 5 to 7 days, and the president has the right to appoint whoever he wants while the Senate is on a break,
right.
And then that person doesn't have to go through confirmation hearings.
Yeah.
And then also, my understanding is if they don't appoint him, he can appoint an acting Secretary of Defense.
That's right.
So he can just basically,
loopholes.
Yeah.
That's why during his first administration, you had, acting, like Rick Grinnell was the acting whatever his job was. He had a lot of people who were acting such and such instead of actually having gone through the confirmation process, because he decided he didn't want to have to push everything through you know what it is? It's not instant gratification enough for Trump. He wants his people.
I would
in
love
now.
to see recess appointments because just because to get the results that Trump is looking to get, he's got 18 months. He's got to have everything ready to go on January 20th. He's got to have as much in place as possible. There's a lot of people that are complaining about the people that have been, floated for appointments. There are a lot of complaints about Marco Rubio. There's complaints about Kristi Noem and stuff. And I understand why they're complaining. That doesn't mean that I necessarily agree, but I understand why they're complaining. But one of the problems that Trump ran into in his first term was he was putting in people that weren't experienced, people that didn't have experience in government, people that didn't know how the government
People that
worked.
didn't like him either or snakes
that was
as well.
an issue as well.
Exactly.
Problem.
And so I think that the people that he's got that he's talking about putting in place, I mean, I'm not saying that I can predict the future, but they're likely to be more
loyal,
to be more loyal, and they're more likely to follow through with what Trump wants. He's got a very clear, very conservative, very Republican narrative plan. He wants to shrink the government. He wants to make serious cuts. This is what Republicans run on all the time. These people will face significant problems in their own elections if they don't follow through when they had the chance to help Trump. And I think that most of the people that are going to be appointed, I think that they're aware that the American people, they all saw the elections. They saw all that everything moved right. Even though it wasn't a massive swing, the fact that everything moved right, the fact that they picked up the House when they didn't think they were going to pick up the House. They picked up the Senate clearly. Trump won. They see I believe they will see the writing on the wall and will say, we need to do what we were elected to do, what the president was elected to do.
I think it's also important to note this is exactly why Project 2025 was a thing, was because when he first came in, right, the guy lived in New York. He wasn't a politician that lived in D.C., so he didn't have all these contacts. So he had to kind of put a lot of these establishment people into positions that he didn't necessarily always pick, right? Because he had a lot of help with that. So, and then a lot of these people, turned out being snakes. I mean, like Mike Pence, for example. So I think, as much as people talk smack about Project 2025, which I actually like it, it was a very valid response to issues.
Yeah.
Project 2025 didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
They
could have been cooler.
Well, no,
right.
We had Paul Dans on IRL, I think IRL and Culture War, and Project 2025. Certainly, it's a hodgepodge of varying ideas. So I'm half kidding when I say it doesn't go far enough. But I think their issues on like government bureaucracy was like defunding instead of dissolving.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here being like, well, that doesn't go far enough. You need to fire these people, not just take budgets away. And I don't think they're. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was Project 2025 for abolishing the DOA? I'm sorry, the DOE.
Yes,
they were for that.
100%.
Okay, all right. Well, then we're cool.
Yeah,
we're cool.
And it's interesting
Department
because
of Education, not Energy.
Yes, exactly.
And I love how like in every single debate and every interview, all Kamala would say is, "Oh yeah, Trump is trying to bring in Project 2025," when he disavowed it like 10 times. So it's like, I think Project 25, number one, valid and was a good response to the issues that he ran into with people not standing by him, people betraying him, etc. But the Democrats literally ran on saying that this is a far right plan that's going to make him become a dictator, etc. when he disavowed it multiple times. But, when you actually look into why it was implemented, it makes sense.
Everything the left said about Donald Trump was ridiculous and bullshit.
Lies, dude. All lies.
They could have attacked him legitimately. They could have had criticized policies that he legitimately was talking about. They could have attacked him from a position of substance, and they chose not to.
If they had approached this from a Joe Rogan perspective, they would have maintained the moderates, but they decided to side with the woke left instead.
Of course.
And Nate Silver, I think it was Nate Silver, had this post-mortem, and he said when he was posting information on the elections, he got to basically do this experiment between his more conservative-leaning audience and his left-leaning audience and see how they responded to the news. Not necessarily his audience, but how the general population was responding, people who followed him. He said when he would put out stuff that somewhat agree with Republicans, they're excited, they're super happy. If you put out something that only somewhat agree with the Democrats, they lose their mind and they'd attack you over it.
Yeah.
So the Democrats are like 100% or nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that's why Trump won, because Trump said, I'll take whatever I can get. What happens? Trump goes to the Libertarian Convention. He got booed by libertarians and he got cheered at the same time and he got laughs. But these people at the Libertarian Convention were like, we don't like Trump. Trump's not our guy. And then Trump came out and said, I'm going to pardon Ross Ulbricht. And then they all started cheering. He said, I'll give you something. I'll give you anything.
Yeah.
And he ended up actually getting the libertarians because they nominated Chase Oliver, who many people thought was too far left on social issues. And then you end up with Dave Smith, of all people. Dave Smith saying he voted for Donald Trump.
Right.
Sitting down with Joe Rogan.
I saw that.
When you get Joe Rogan, who's a Bernie supporter, and you get Dave Smith, anti-war, anti-Trump libertarian, both agreeing, well, he's our best bet, you have unified the country.
The other thing too is you had the left being like, why don't we have a Joe Rogan? And it's like, because you canceled Joe Rogan. That's why you don't have Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the hell, you fools.
But this is the thing that bothers me too is I donated the max to Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. In the 2019 primaries, I was sitting here.
I liked Yang and Tulsi too.
Yeah, Yang was a disappointment. Tulsi's fantastic, but Tulsi had to join the Republicans.
Yeah.
So they're like, why can't we have the article from the Wired was, why can't we have a Ben Shapiro, a Steven Crowder, or so help us a Tim Pool? And I'm like,
You could have.
you did, and then you insulted me. You beat the crap out of me. Joe Rogan kept his mouth shut, and you still insulted him. Look,
Yeah.
I came out right away in 2020 and said, I want Tulsi Gabbard. She's the candidate. Andrew Yang is also great. These are the candidates that I want. When they said no to that, I said, okay, well, Trump it is. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. And they said, you're far right, screw you. And I said, I get it. I'm supporting Donald Trump. You don't like me. But Joe Rogan didn't do that. Joe Rogan the whole time said, I don't know. I don't want to help Trump. I don't want to be involved. And they still called him a Nazi. They still called him far right.
They still tried to take his livelihood away.
Yep.
Well, the problem is that the left never gets satisfied because they keep going left, right?
Yeah,
so
they keep
someone
just going further.
Yeah. So like someone that's like a leftist now in 5 years is going to be considered far right because they're continuously shifting that window into more and more deranged lunacy. So that's the issue with them. And yeah, cancel culture is their main tool on the left. That's what they do. Like with Rogan, all these guys that they've tried.
Someone chatted, Tim didn't tell us about the max donation back then. Absolutely not true. I was talking about how Tulsi's mom called me thanking for the donation. I wanted the Democratic Party to pull back out of this tailspin, stop embracing racial segregation and other weird crackpot policies. And I said, why are they doing this? They're supposed to be like the funny, edgy, comedians like Jon Stewart calling out the stodgy Republicans. What's happening? Nope. The Republicans said, you know what? We were wrong about that. Let's all have fun and make jokes together. And I said, I'm down. What about you Democrats? And Democrats said, you're a Nazi, get out of my room. And I said, okay.
But, that's the thing, right? And that's what Phil was talking about is the Democrats in this election consistently lied about Trump, about who he is, about what he said, about what he stands for, misquoted him, did everything they possibly could to frame him a certain way. But after 2020, after the past 4 years, after COVID, I think the American people were just like, no, I'm not going to just believe you because you say things anymore. I'm going to do the work for myself. I'm going to understand it for myself. And so no one believed them when he said all of these things. It was like, it was Peter crying wolf. That's really what it seemed like.
What do you guys think about John Ratcliffe? So the other news from the Post-Millennial is that Trump has tapped former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe to lead the CIA. And I was actually much more excited for Kash Patel.
I agree with you on Kash Patel. I think you need to put him either with the CIA or maybe the head of the FBI. That'd be actually kind of funny.
I hope.
Given all the wars he had with the FBI. But but yeah, I mean, you need to put. I saw he wants to implement this like a 24-hour declassification room, which I think or agency or component.
What is that?
So basically, what it would be is like it's documents continuously getting declassified. And I could say this is a guy that used to deal with classified documents. They classify stuff all the time for no fucking reason, man. Yeah. I'll be honest with you guys. Like it's a lot of the times it's like, why is this classified? I'll never forget those piece of information one time I gave to the FBI on a target. And then I remember I was like on the phone with the guy and I said, hey, can you, what was it about that guy? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh yeah, that's classified. I was like, dude, I gave it to you. How are you going to tell me like, what the fuck?
That's
like,
really
what the hell?
funny.
But like the FBI is notorious for that. Like they'll get information and they'll classify it just because they don't want to share. So there's a huge problem with the classification of documents and how that's all handled. We still haven't got the JFK documents. We still don't have all the 9/11 documents. So, well, we know why. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, there needs to be way more accountability and transparency when it comes to that.
Well,
That's something Tucker Carlson was saying too, is that there's just too many classified documents. There's too many things that don't need to be classified.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. And like the fact that like the JFK documents aren't declassified after all these years, pretty much everyone is dead from that era. Like, declassify them.
Yeah, the fact that everything is classified is just because the government doesn't want to answer questions to the American people.
Yes, that's a big reason.
Because FOIA requests exist because you can request information. The only thing the government can do to keep the American people in the dark is to classify it. So they just classify everything. And that should change.
Let's jump to this next story. It's going to make everybody happy. From the Daily Mail, CNN will axe top stars in layoffs that'll see hundreds fired as ratings continue to tank. But wait, before we dive into that, Comcast put MSNBC and Oprah-funded Oxygen networks up for sale in cable TV sell-off. It is the end, my friends. Now, I just want to add right away, Caitlin Collins was getting $3 million. Man, she got a great agent because she does not have hey, look,
that
more power
is
to her.
wild. That's a lot of
$3
money.
million.
Yeah, to be that not good at anything.
It's a testament to the mainstream media is dying, man. I mean, and after the election results, whether it's Whoopi Goldberg on The View or people on the CNN pundits, talking crap. Oh, this stuff needs to be moderated more. We have these, rogue podcasters that are over here platforming people, and nothing is being moderated, whatever. AKA, we want more censorship.
Yeah.
And the American people have finally spoken up, and they're tired of it. They're tired of the censorship. They're tired of the lies from the mainstream media. And this election literally proved that with the landslide victory.
Censorship is about as un-American as you can get. When you have the First Amendment that clearly says that you can have whatever opinion you want, the government has no right to an opinion. That's exactly the First Amendment is saying that the government doesn't have a right to an opinion.
Let me help arm our viewers with knowledge. Remember that guy? So censorship is a good thing. Political censorship is a bad thing. Censorship is, in general, I would never call myself anti-censorship. When people post images of child abuse on the internet, we want moderators to censor that information,
Of course.
or information, but those images and those things. When people are calling for or directing or instructing on how to do horrible things and commit crimes, we want moderators to come in and censor. We have a gut reaction to the word censor because it's used almost exclusively politically against the enemies of the establishment. So I'm not trying to nitpick or say Phil's wrong. I'm just trying to make sure that the people who are watching at home might go to a friend and be like, yeah, censorship is bad. And then they're going to go, oh, yeah, what about this? So I want to make sure that they just understand the nuances.
I've articulated this before on the show. When I say censorship and when I'm talking about free speech, you don't have the right to just be vulgar or be offensive on platforms or whatever. You don't have the right to share, pictures of assault or videos of assault, children, etc. The point is, you can exchange any idea that you want. If you're respectful about it and if you have tact, there's no idea that you are going to get booted off of something for sharing. There will be people that won't like it, and that's what it should be, is what I'm saying. Not that it's perfect, but it should be that if you are sharing ideas with tact and not just throwing bombs out there just to get people worked up, there should be no idea that you can't talk.
I'm okay with trolling. I'm totally okay. If your whole goal is to go on the internet and just rile people up, that's fine. It's when you are committing crimes or posting abuse and things like that. But back to old CNN firing everybody. Guys, did you know that CNN's viewership is lower than ours?
That is so crazy.
Now, hold on. In the 70-year-old plus, they crush us. Mm-hmm. You know what? I got
70 plus, the seniors.
60. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to disparage seniors.
Yeah.
In the 70 plus age demographic, which has its market, they annihilate Timcast. I mean, they're getting 500. What are they getting? Like 500 to, I think they got 600,000. Man, wow. We can't compete with that. And the key demo, CNN got 90,000 for their, I think 90,000 for their daytime coverage last week. Wow. We did 300 in the key demo.
You guys got 84K watching right now.
We have more people watching literally right now at this moment than MSNBC got in their entire daytime key demo.
Yeah.
I think their daytime key demo was 74,000. That's why they're done. People, and the other thing too is I'm having conversation with these ad buyers. Mm-hmm. The industry has shifted. This podcast presidency, they're calling it. It is our time. So not just here at Timcast, but shout out to the Daily Wire crew, Steven Crowder, Viva Fry, Jimmy Dore. This is the change. This is the moment because people are and Joe Rogan, who's already making bank, is going to make a lot more. Because what's happened now is I'm talking to these ad networks, these sales teams, these companies, and they're basically saying, with the podcast presidency, Trump bypassing the corporate press and trying to go to podcasts, even Kamala Harris trying to do Call Her Daddy, but avoiding Rogan. All the companies that are buying sponsorships, they're like for various companies, are like, if you want to sell a product, you have to go to the podcasts.
Yeah.
You're going to get the personality driving your product, not some spot in between. So think about this. You watch your favorite primetime show with Anderson Cooper, and he says, we'll be right back. And then people zone out.
Yeah, of course.
For podcasts and for YouTube videos, and YouTube is taken over completely. This is crazy. I had a conversation today. The guy was like, even podcasts are going down. People want YouTube. Trump changed the game with all of these YouTube live vodcasts that he did. He wins. These companies see the sheer influence that it generated. They see the popular vote and they say, we want what these guys got. So I was warning a lot of these companies and the people who are listening. The left was trying to convince everybody they were the majority and we were the minority, and companies believed it. Then one day they woke up, these Bud Lights, these Targets, and they said, we're losing money going in this direction. This is why I kept saying the popular vote is so important. Because so now when I do sales, if I go to a sponsor, I'm going to say the minority market share are these leftists networks. It's MSNBC, it's CNN, and it's YouTube censorship and all that stuff. If you want to be where the majority of the people are, it's Joe Rogan, it's Theo Von, it's Tony Hinchcliffe, it's Tim Pool, it's Steven Crowder, it's Jimmy Dore. Do you want the minority market share or do you want the majority market share? Every single company is going to be like, we want the biggest market share possible for the lowest cost. That's us.
Yeah. And the reality, and you can see it with this election, right? What did Kamala campaign off of? Bringing A-list celebrities, your Taylor Swifts, your Beyoncés, your Bon Jovis, your Bruce Springsteens, Eminem, J-Lo. She literally brought people in from 4 different decades of stardom that are A-list celebrities, and she still couldn't do anything. She brought people to perform at her rallies. Didn't do anything. Meanwhile, you got Trump going on with popular streamers, going on podcasts, having long-form conversation in a very, candid manner that isn't necessarily scripted or, oh, you can't ask me this or ask me that. And he did a lot better because the reality is traditional celebrities no longer have the influence of streamers and online personalities because online personalities are far more relatable. They're more almost like touchable. You can interact with them more. You kind of feel like, oh, this is a guy that made it that was kind of like me. So you're going to want to go ahead and pay more attention to what they're doing because you're more bonded with that individual. And then on top of that, right, let's say you're a huge Eminem fan. What? You listen to the Eminem show, you listen to Slim Shady LP. That's what, maybe an hour of music or whatever. But when you're listening to a Rogan podcast, you listen to them talk about polar bears for the second or third time. You're like, yeah, you build a bond with them. You know what they're going to talk about.
Yeah, so it is like that.
Yeah, so like you're far more likely to kind of do whatever that influencer does. That's why they're called influencers nowadays. You're far more likely to kind of follow their lead over a traditional celebrity because these guys have a lot more thing. And then on top of that, the mainstream media, no one wants to believe them anymore. So what I'm seeing slowly is that the people are winning, whether it's Bitcoin, right? Moving away from central banking,
today.
90K, or it's people watching their favorite influencers over traditional celebrities, or it's people watching their favorite podcasters over these news networks. Everything is going to the people, which is fantastic.
So election night, we did 9 hours of coverage. We got 2.5 million. And the reporting, and I can't believe this is true, they said Fox News had 2.5 million for their election coverage, but they were covering it longer than we were. So I'm like, that can't be right. That's got to be like primetime coverage. I don't know, because Fox does well. Mm-hmm. Then I saw the MSNBC actually did pretty well for their data. They got 5 million.
Oh,
but they're,
okay.
I mean, right, because people are going to tune in to watch the election.
Of course.
But that shows for the right and for Trump went podcast route. So Fox News' viewers were lower, and all the podcast views were way higher. So 2.5 million on our end, and it was almost all key demo. These cable networks could not make money off it. One of the reasons they're basically saying they got to axe their high-paid staff is that it was a disastrous period. This was supposed to be their Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. I think Fox will be somewhat okay because they're like the only conservative cable network. So they're going to maintain a certain share, but their key demo viewership is still low. Gutfeld is really helping them out. Tucker was really helping them out, but they axed him because they're nuts.
Well, because of Dominion.
Very stupid.
I mean, I feel like that was part of the Dominion deal.
Those are the rumors. But MSNBC and CNN were basically like, okay, guys, this is it. This is game time. This election is going to be make or break. And they broke.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to start firing people. And I cannot believe Caitlin Collins got $3 million. But
Mainstream
man,
media.
good for her. Good for her.
I predict
I hope she saved some of it.
in the next 10 years, mainstream media is going to be almost gone. I predict, give it like 10 years, because no one watches cable or dish or any of these, like, no one watches TV anymore. They're on their phones. That's how they're consuming content nowadays. They're on their phones, whether it's long form on YouTube or clips on TikTok or shorts. People are consuming content on their phones, and it's just not on TV anymore.
That is true, but one of the challenges for us on Timcast is that a large portion of our viewership is on TVs. So,
What do you mean they like watch YouTube on TV?
They turn their TV on, open up the app, and play Timcast IRL on their TV with their friends. But the challenge for us,
playing it or something, yeah.
But the challenge then is 3 people count as 1 view. And so the ad sales on YouTube were based on how many views you had.
Yeah.
And so when we do sponsorships, they're like, wow, for some reason, when we sponsor your show, we sell twice as much as when we do other shows. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's because half our viewers are families watching on TV or like roommates watching at the same time. So it's more like Fox than it is like Rogan, and we can't factor that in. Like we don't do that. So it is changing.
Undersell, over deliver. That's our government motto.
Well,
the only thing that they do, right?
Right. But that's actually what most of the networks do.
Yeah.
So that's why people are happy. They're like, hey, if we sponsor Timcast IRL, we get big bang for our buck. But I'm just saying right now, there's conversations I'm having because this is the big ad selling season. Everyone's trying to sell their ad slots for the next quarter or the next 2 quarters.
Absolutely. Christmas season.
That's right. And so what happens now is in December, marketing agencies just dump what money they have left. So everybody's ad rates skyrocket, but they're also buying up for January until for media. They're doing media buys. They call it upfronts. And so what I'm hearing across the board is TV is dead.
Yeah.
It's just they don't move product in the same way anymore. And it's like you were saying, younger people, if they see you and you say, hey, look, guys, I actually did try this product. I thought it was pretty good.
Yep.
Whereas if you watch TV, some random person shows up and says, buy this, trust me. And we know it's an actor. We know it's not real. Yep. Whenever we get someone who tries to sponsor the show, I sometimes I'll get a script and they'll like, do you want to say that this is the best jerky you've ever had? And I'll be like, if they send it to me and it's the best jerky I've ever had.
Right.
And if it's not, then I won't say it.
Well, because it's your word behind it. It's it's your veracity. Your viewers trust you. And so that's
especially
important.
when they're consuming your content like for hours at a time. Like if you're a podcast or a long form content creator, like I always kind of look at it like if you do podcasting, you do long form content, especially like on a YouTube, you can translate that to other platforms easily, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, etc. Because if people watch you long form, they'll definitely take you in short form. So if you advertise something, right, people watch you so long, they're going to just know, like, and trust you and buy from you versus like you said, a traditional celebrity who they might have went to a concert here or there. There's just multiple points of contact where people are just going to trust you more versus a traditional actor or musician.
Let's jump to this story from Mediaites. Democrats are realizing woke is broke. Morning Joe crew reads entire Maureen Dowd column slamming identity politics. They are so over wokeness, and MSNBC is spiraling and probably going to sell, that they finally came out and admitted it, that identity politics is sinking the Democrats, saying things like Latinx are driving people away. James Carville's criticizing their focus on identitarianism. You know what? I've been screaming this we're going on like 10 years now.
Yes.
And I'm not the loudest. Carl Benjamin, Shoe on Head, a lot of the original anti-woke creators were in it way before I was. And we were all saying Democrats were embracing identitarianism.
I was saying this in theater and nobody was listening to me. Back in like 2010.
There was a great post from Ezra Klein where he was basically laying out a lot of what was wrong with the Democrats. And what I absolutely loved about it is what they are saying right now, these Democrats, when they say this stuff is, it is better to be a Democrat than to be right. Mm-hmm. So Democrats,
it's about their moral perspective, not about
what's their team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when I, as a regular person, milquetoast fence in a middle of the road guy, see Democrats say, sit down and shut up, do as you're told or else, I go, well, that's not appealing to me. Republicans say, well, we know we don't agree on everything, but let's try and work together. I say, I like this. Democrats then say, we want boys and girls bathrooms and things like this. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Republicans say, we want cheap gas. I go, Republican it is. The response from Democrats is not, it wasn't, hey, maybe we're wrong. It's what they've written articles, I think it was New Republic, saying it's the perception of what is right. How do we win the perception with our own version of Joe Rogan? All they're saying to us is instead of trying to do things that actually helps people and is appealing to people, they're trying to figure out how to make Democrats more appealing. Yeah. Saying it is better to be a Democrat than it is to be correct on the issues.
Well, because for them, it's a moral perspective. It's a religion. You can even see that in the reactions of the crazed liberals on TikTok after the election, right? I mean, they are acting like something is wrong with them on the inside because this happened. They put too much of their personal meaning and stake in federal politics, and it doesn't belong there. There's way more meaning in the world than you're going to find in federal politics. There's way more that matters, you know? And they don't realize that at all.
I think the other thing people, with the Democrats.
That's why they're comfy cutting off their family.
Yeah. And I think it's important also for people to know that, like, the Democrats, right? Obviously, race is very important. I mean, it's a big reason why they put Kamala in that position to run, because they were scared that if they put another Democrat in, it would look bad to go over a black woman, right? So they're like, oh, that's going to be death for us, because the Democrats
Joy
run.
Reid even said that outright.
Absolutely. Because the Democrats run on race. Why do they run on race? They run on race because it's a game of, oh, look, these rich white Republicans, they're keeping you down, man. Like, we want to go ahead and fill the disparity. That's what it is. They campaign on disparity. You're a Latino, you're a black, you're a minority, etc. They're holding you back. Let me come in and be your voice and get you what you need. That's why people like Kamala Harris say, oh, we're going to go ahead and turn the page, or opportunity economy. What did Obama campaign on? Oh, change, right? So their thing is, we're going to attack these Republicans because they have money and they don't care about you, and they want to give tax cuts to the rich and to the rich people at the top. We're going to help you, and that's why they campaign so hard on identity politics. It's literally like a necessary component of how they campaign. It's all smoke and mirrors with race and politics.
Well, but now what we have is a situation where Republicans are the party of the working class.
Yeah.
So the Democrats can't run on that anymore.
Yeah,
and anti-war too, which is crazy.
Which is
now they're
great.
anti-war Republicans.
Anti-war working class, yeah.
The post by Ezra Klein that Tim was referencing this morning, the last, we were talking about this earlier, the last paragraph says, the most important question in politics isn't whether a politician is well-liked, it's whether voters think a politician or a political coalition likes them. And the Democrats have been telling the American people that they don't like them forever. They've been canceling people. So if you don't align with them perfectly, if you step out of line, you're canceled. They've been telling Republicans that they are, first it was Obama with the they cling to their God and their guns. Then Clinton said it was
reiterated that the other day.
Yeah. Then Clinton said that it was the deplorables. Biden said that MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this nation. Then he called them garbage. These ideas have been actually ingrained into America now. The Democrats have become the party of the wealthy elite, and they look down on Americans. And Donald Trump made it abundantly clear that even though he's a rich guy, he doesn't hate Americans or America. He did it when he when he went and got in the garbage truck. He did it when he went and he sold, when he was selling McDonald's food. He did it when he bought a boatload of McDonald's and had it in the White House.
Yeah.
He speaks to the American people and he says, I don't hate you. I know that I got a lot of money. I know that I'm a different kind of guy, but I don't hate you. And the Democrats have been telling Americans that they hate them for at least the past 15 years. Every time they lose an election, they're leaving.
Well,
the government, every time they lose an election, they say, I'm getting out of here. I don't want to be, I'm ashamed of my country. They say nothing good about America unless they're winning. And the narrative that they believe. The 1619 Project, America's inherently racist, America's inherently sexist. Everything that the Democrats say is, I hate America. So why should Americans support them?
No, also interesting too. J.D. Vance, when I was watching him, do his speeches and the rallies and everything, he would always say, hey, join the party of common sense. And that's when I said, holy crap, we are cooked. We're at a point now in America where our politicians are campaigning on having fucking common sense. How far left have we gone? How loony have we become where you're campaigning on we are the common sense party? That's how far the left has gone, right? Acknowledging all these different genders, wanting to reaffirm children, the LGBT community, all the crap that's going on with that, the foreign wars, right? Like, I mean, for me, I think my biggest voting issue was foreign policy. Clearly, the Democrats couldn't get a hold. They couldn't reel Netanyahu in. They couldn't control what's going on with Russia, Ukraine. I mean, Kamala Harris was in Eastern Europe 2 weeks before Russia invaded. They haven't talked to Putin in 2 years. How are you doing that? Our adversaries are laughing at us. You think Putin or any of these countries, they're saying around campaigning on, oh yeah, we campaign on common sense. No. We're the only ones.
There's a few key points. Famously, Democrats never learn their lesson. Remember the story about Donald Trump liking well-done steaks with ketchup?
Sure.
Yeah.
They made fun of him. They said, here's a guy who ordered a 30-day dry-aged steak well done with ketchup, and they laughed. Trump knew what he was doing. He was saying to all the working class people who couldn't afford the expensive steaks, who go to the grocery store and buy their T-bones, I eat my steak like you do. Trump was basically saying, oh yeah, I could have a medium rare filet mignon with some black garlic at a fancy restaurant.
Truffle oil,
all that good stuff. Herb butter, that's the thing that the rich people love. They love their herb butter on their steak. And instead he said, give me well done with ketchup, because that's what the people do. I'll eat like the people today. They made fun of him. They weren't making fun of Trump. They didn't realize it. They were insulting that regular working class guy who got home and said, hey man, I can't afford a filet mignon for my family. We do our best. Okay, we cook them the way we can cook them. We put ketchup on them because it tastes good and that's the best we got. Now I know regular working people know how to cook good steaks too. But when I grew up, we rarely got the good filet mignon because my family couldn't afford it.
it's expensive.
So when they made fun of Trump, they made fun of what my life was like when I was a kid.
Yep.
And they made fun of all these other working people. When Donald Trump went to McDonald's with a smile on his face, and Bill Burr said he was so excited. He's like, this is where they do
He kept the
it.
tie on. He took off his jacket. He put on the apron. He kept the tie and the button down.
And they made fun of him, and they attacked him for it. And it was legit a fun thing for him to do, to say, I'm going to spend a day in your shoes and be here. And the people who were in the cars, they were all pre-screened. We knew that. And they were like, Trump didn't really work at McDonald's.
And it's like, oh, really? Did he not? Are you kidding?
Well, we know Kamala
Okay.
didn't. We know Kamala did
The
it.
joke was, did you think we, the American people, thought Trump went to a random McDonald's, applied for a job, got an interview, got hired, and then showed up for work one day?
After 2 assassination attempts.
Yeah, we knew.
Yeah.
And then the garbage truck thing was masterful.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
And they kept making fun of him every step of the way.
But they
Democrat
were-
Puritans can't ever just say sometimes Trump is funny.
This was all speaking to the fact that they hate Americans.
It is that they hate Americans. And the day after the election, who did they blame for Kamala's loss?
Americans.
They said Americans are racist and Americans are sexist and Americans don't know
don't-
what's good for them and Americans are evil. And that's why America voted for Trump. That's
can't-
all they could come up with. They didn't realize that they lost us
Yeah.
a long time ago. And they also don't realize that when Trump goes out there and talks to people, he's not palling around with Beyonce and he's not palling around with, Megan Thee Stallion.
He's
and
hanging out with the My
Bon
Pillow guy.
Jovi or whatever else. He's hanging out with regular people that we can relate to. You know what I mean? And Kamala Harris, she doesn't talk to us. She didn't even think we were worth giving an interview to.
Yep.
You know what I mean? She didn't even hold a press conference when she was running for office. She didn't think that reporters were worth listening to, or the people were worth listening to. And everybody that Donald Trump talks to, he talks to the same. I only met him once and it was in a press gaggle and I didn't get to ask a question. I only got to shake his hand and say nice to meet you, Mr. President. And he looked at me like I was a real person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I would have ever gotten something like that from Kamala Harris.
Trump, and there's a handful of other guys like Tucker Carlson. These guys know how to make you feel like you're the most important person in the room. And
Biden does that. Biden was good at that too. He's a good retail politician.
yeah. That I got to
It's been
say.
so long.
So there's a handful of people you will meet in your life, and you're going to be like, you just like this person.
Yeah.
Russell Brand is one of them. We're hanging out at the Rescue the Republic event, and I'm just standing off the side with Allison, and Russell's walking down. He stops, he looks over at me, he comes over, and he's like, Tim, oh, it's so great to meet you. And I was like, wow, like, Russell, thank you so much. They know how to make you feel good. They make you feel like you matter, and it's greatly appreciated. Trump does that. He's walking around, he sees you, he compliments you, he shakes your hand, he tells you how good you are, how great you are, and then you're just like, I want to be around that guy more often.
Yeah.
And that's how he pulls it off. Trump, I've been to like 30 plus Trump rallies, and that was in the first campaign, not the second or third. After he speaks, he walks down off the stage and walks up to the front of the line, and he hangs out with people for like 20, 30 minutes. I'm like, this guy's a machine. This is crazy. And he just shakes their hand and he talks to them. And each and every one of those people is sitting there being like, this is one of the greatest days of my life. It's a man that is fighting for me, that I respect. And he, a billionaire, has given me, just some working class guy, the time of day.
He respects Americans and he respects that we work and he respects that we try and raise our kids. I mean,
Only politician that came in with a higher net worth than left with less money. Every other politician goes in with a certain net worth. They come out with way more money.
Look at Nancy Pelosi.
He came in and lost money.
Get rich.
Yep.
How'd Nancy Pelosi get that rich?
Yep.
I find it so fascinating that they're attacking Pete Hegseth right now. Like I see some of the tweets.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
What are they saying? Inexperience, or what are they claiming?
inexperienced.
Too young?
Yeah. Harry Sisson is like a Fox News host.
He was a major.
Even Elizabeth Warren
20
is
years.
like saying that Hegseth will make us less safe and must be rejected. How could we be less safe than right now? Like, that would be pretty shocking.
I'm seeing criticism from
Reid is
people saying
saying
he's
stuff.
pro-Israel. And so I'm like, why is the machine acting like they're all of a sudden opposed to this? It's because he's anti-woke. It's because Hegseth has been extremely critical of DEI, and he wants merit-based military. And so...
Also, he's a real vet, not a fake one like Tim
Right.
Walz.
Yep. Well, I'll give Waltz credit for being a vet. I don't want, I can respect that, but he lied about his rank and he lied about carrying weapons of war in war. Seamus made a joke.
And he
of Freedom
retired
Tunes.
before deployment.
Seamus made a joke. I think his Freedom Tunes bit was that Tim Waltz was having PTSD flashbacks, and the flashback was like eating at Italian restaurants and like spilling his spaghetti on the floor, and he's like, because he was in Italy. I mean, he's doing security that's respectable. I don't want to rag on the guy for that. I'm going to rag on the guy for lying. But yeah, I'm. You know what they don't like? They don't like that. I like that quote. He didn't work for Raytheon for 20 years.
I think that's
A
good.
military contract or whatever.
Meanwhile, Hegseth went to Princeton. He has a graduate degree from Harvard.
Yep.
He's an Army combat veteran. He was in Guantanamo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. He got 2 Bronze Stars
been
and
in
a
combat.
infantryman's badge.
Yeah.
Like, he has all of the credentials of the left. He has the things that they want
value.
their leaders to have, that they value. But it's not enough for them.
It's opposition for the sake of opposition. Let's jump to this next story. We're going to have some fun.
Like you said, all or nothing, right?
Right. We got this from the New York Post. SNL star Chloe Fineman says rude Elon made her cry. I burst into tears. Oh no, did an SNL cast member cry because Elon is mean? Okay, well, what did he do? Did he like hit her or something? Or what made her cry?
Okay, I just saw some news article about Elon Musk being like butthurt about SNL and his impression, but I'm like, you're clearly watching the show. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna come out and say at long last that I'm the cast member that he made cry, and he's the host that made someone cry.
Okay,
Maybe there's others, but I saw some articles and stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. But I'm like, no, if you're gonna like go on your platform and be rude, like, guess what? You made Chloe Fineman, burst into tears because I stayed up all night writing this sketch. I was so excited. I came in, I asked if you had any questions, and you stared at me like you were firing me from Tesla and were like, it's not funny. I waited for you to be like, haha, JK. No, then you started pawing through my script,
dude.
like flipping each page, being like, I didn't laugh once, not one time.
What's he supposed to
Cut
say?
to the sketch made it on, and it was like fine, and I actually had a really good time, and I thought you were really funny in it, but have a little manners here.
So I'm just going to say
That's
this.
really
I'm going to
ridiculous.
trigger all the feminists right now.
Women aren't funny. They just aren't. I'm just going to be honest. All female comedians suck, but they just suck.
Well, I'm going to pause right there and say Nikki Glaser is hilarious. And Casey Shornama is also hilarious. Look, I agree with you on the overwhelming majority of female comics.
Yeah, women aren't funny.
Because I'm always complaining how when I'm on Instagram, I follow Ryan Long and Danny Polishchuk, and their bits are hilarious.
I follow that too.
The emotional intelligence bit they did, women are more emotionally intelligent than us. Like, they have the emotional intelligence to complain and freak out when the flight gets canceled, even though it can't do anything. Like, it was a brilliant piece. And so I get recommended these comics. The female comics are only ever talking about sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I'm just,
that's
like,
the
not
contemporary
interested.
ones. I mean, Lucille Ball, Carol Burnett, these were funny women. Roseanne Barr.
I think Nikki
very
Glazer's
funny.
hilarious. Her roast of, it was like she roasted Alec Baldwin or whatever, was really good. And she's got a bunch of other funny bits. I've only seen a handful from Casey Shornama, but her bits are really funny. And she's like, she kind of mocked wokeness a little bit in a way that I appreciated. But overwhelmingly, I largely agree. The issue I have here is not about female comics. It's that, dude, okay, guys, we need to make sure that if a woman is getting the job, she's getting the job because she's good at it, not because she's a woman.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's true for anybody. Because I'll tell you why. I have been in meetings with people who clearly got the job because the company was like, we have a mandate to hire a woman.
Yeah.
And then you've got 4 guys, and they've each got like 5 million followers. And they're like, here's how I built my company. Here's how I built my company. And there's someone who has none. And she's like, I have an idea. Why don't we do this thing? That's it's a terrible idea. And then we try to be nice. And we'll be like, okay, well, like the reason that doesn't work is because of this. And then she's like, because I'm a woman, they won't listen to me. And we're like, no,
That's actually good.
Nothing to do with you being a woman. It's the problem is not that you're a woman. It's that you were put here because you're a woman, not because you had the skills.
Yeah.
And if they actually just put the people based on merit, sometimes you'd get women and they would be funny. And we would be like, that's actually a really good idea. What ends up happening is these companies hire women for the sake of hiring women. These women are then like, I worked so late on this sketch and then Elon Musk said it was not funny and I cried. And I'm like, you should be fired.
Yeah.
Like the host came in, said it was not good. You should say, what can I do to make it funny? Do you have any ideas? Instead, she cried. You can't do the job.
It doesn't have
like,
to.
just
It
go.
doesn't have to be that way. Like there's plenty of women writers who are perfectly good and won't, freak out if they're told that their sketch isn't funny and can stand up for themselves. I don't think it needs to be that way. I think that a lot of this current generation of creators and whatever have been extremely coddled, and the women of the previous generations who really fought and worked hard to get to where they were, they're not going to cry over it. Tina Fey's not going to cry, whether you think she's funny or not. I happen to, but
oh, she's great. 30
yeah.
Rock was one of the best
she's
shows
not
ever.
gonna cry if you don't like her sketch. She's gonna be like, okay, so you don't like it, whatever. She's gonna do whatever she's gonna do. So I think that you could have had a fella out here crying as well, because people just don't have any backbone or stamina or work ethic.
But we would ridicule him for it.
She should be ridiculed.
Yes, like she should be
ridiculed. Yes.
But we don't. That's the issue, is that like so like men kind of have to live in a fact-based reality where their inadequacy leads to consequences. With women, it's like they can suck on a lot of things and like, well, no pun intended, but they can suck at a lot of things and no one cares. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, you suck, and you'll criticize them and they'll cry or whatever. Like, why is there this influx of women on TikTok crying in their cars with their phone like
they're
this?
getting
They can't get a guy. Yeah,
they're getting views.
We don't roast them enough. We need to roast them more.
Oh yeah,
Libs of TikTok goes nuts on that.
Yeah.
She's amazing at roasting them.
Yeah.
Was it Richard Dawkins who said women aren't funny because they don't need to be?
Yes.
He was just like, they're not funny. It's like, why? Well, they don't need to be.
Yeah.
That's just it. There's a funny meme on where a guy in 4chan.
Well, Phyllis Diller was funny and she wasn't very attractive. So I mean, if you balance it out
that's a thing. Like, I get what you're saying when you're like, women aren't funny. It's
Yeah,
like
in
generally speaking, but
Like
they're
99%.
But then you get there are women who are good, who are great comedians. Tina Fey, I think, is actually fantastic. But it's more rare. And there's this funny meme on 4chan where a guy said,
Men are just better at everything, Tim.
men are better at object-oriented things.
Yeah.
So I feel like women are better. Well, let me.
We're better at everything. But
There's a meme where a guy said, will being funny make me more attractive to women? And they said, no, but being attractive will make you funnier to women. And that's true. A guy who is attractive will more likely succeed in social interactions than a guy who is not attractive. This is the meme where the guy.
That's always true. I
Right.
mean, more like the more attractive
It's
you
true for
are,
women, too.
the better stuff you get in life. Like it just works out better for you in social interactions. Like attractive people are hired more. Like that's Darwin, right?
I also want to say of like this woman on SNL where she cried because Elon said she wasn't funny, and she's making something out of it. Like, this is not something for you to. You should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
No, she should be ashamed. Yeah.
Yeah, and even more embarrassed that she made a video saying I cried because Elon didn't find me funny. It's like Elon is a guy who laughs at a dog meme on the internet. It's not hard to get him laughing with memes and simple jokes. You should not be proud that he didn't find you funny.
But again, if this was a guy, he would never have the gall to get on the camera and be like, yeah, I didn't love my video, and complaining about it. But women do this all the time because they can victimize themselves. Like that dumb chick that went, to Nick's house. Wrote this whole paragraph victimizing herself even though she was the antagonizer.
Because she knows she'll get attention for it.
Exactly.
The left will prop her up.
Yep.
And this is crazy because this is actually a political split that we're seeing in general. It's like the Democratic Party is the feminine, the Republican Party is the more masculine.
Yep.
In a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that hyperbolically. I'm saying the Democratic Party is largely female, and the Republican Party is more so male, not as largely male as the Democrat is. But millennial women are 70% Democrat.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. And they cry a lot. I mean, millennial women really do cry a lot.
So I'm just ban social media at this point, because when Trump wins and you see 7,000 videos of women taking their phones out and filming themselves crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you?
It's
why
really
would you do
weird
that?
behavior too. I find
It's
that to be very
histrionics.
bizarre. Yeah.
It's literal. It's
You know
histrionics.
who's been killing it though is Justine Bateman. I've been loving her.
mocking them all.
Yeah, well, she's been doing like critical reviews of liberal women crying. And they're really funny. You know, she'll talk about their costume choices. She'll be like, you're not really selling it. You know what I mean? Like, you really want to go back in, find it deep within yourself. She's wonderful. It's funny because her brother is, woke, Justin Bateman.
Well, it proves that feminism was a objective failure. You know what I mean? Because these women, because you mentioned millennials crying a lot. Well, the reason why they cry is because they bought into this hook, line, and sinker of I can have a career and have it all and
but
make a bunch of money. And
I got to be honest too, though. It takes two to tango. Humans don't live in a vacuum. We have males and we have females, and there's too many guys who support these women who do this stuff.
Well,
Of course, yeah. Feminism exists because of men.
Right.
Men are a big part of the reason why women have so many abortions. You know who?
Literally, they're half the reason.
But I mean, like, there's a lot of encouraging. Hey, babe, have an abortion.
Well, but the OnlyFans thing.
Yeah.
It's because it only. So I can criticize women on OnlyFans to a certain degree. I'm fairly libertarian, and I'm like, do whatever. I don't care. I got equal or more criticism for these guys because so many guys are like,
You mean the subscriber guys?
The Simps.
I'm talking about guys in general who are like, it's so hard for me to find a date and do all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, first, if you're a guy who works hard, you're working out, you're improving yourself, you're studying, and you're having a hard time, I feel for you. Life is rough. If you're a guy who does all those things and then you're paying some woman on OnlyFans, you deserve exactly what you get.
Yeah, I mean the
guys who are
Simps.
paying
I've always said I've been very critical of Simps is that what they've done is they've created this economy, and the reason why women behave the way that they behave is because a lot of men have been Simps and like kind of just reaffirmed it or allowed it.
Right.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah,
Dude, it's wild to see like these female streamers and the guys like
countless 304s, man.
Well, there
Most
was,
of them.
There was one story where a guy gave a woman like 10 grand.
Yeah.
And,
Why
and,
would
and he
any-
wasn't rich.
why?
He wasn't rich.
Why would you take a man's money like that? That is really insane. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that.
So there was some story a long time ago, and I'm probably getting the details wrong because it's been several years, but he had like saved up his life savings, had 10 grand, and he donated it to some streamer. And then she was like, wow, thank you so much. And then completely forgot about him. And he lost his mind.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just gave you everything and you won't even talk to me. And she's like, bye, ban.
Yeah.
Later. Thanks for the money.
Yep. That's how it goes, man, with a lot of these female streamers.
These guys need to stop giving money to streamers. It's an economy that we don't need. Now, look, if you want to, go ahead, fine. But I'm telling you, it's not going to improve your life. It's only going to make everything worse. But these guys don't care.
Well,
Yeah.
I've had, people who appear to be men come into my DMs and like ask if they can give me money and stuff. And I'm just like, well, obviously I'm just going to block you now because that's super creepy and weird. And I don't need your money.
Well, yeah, what's your Cash App, right? That whole thing.
Right? But isn't that so bizarre? Like, I don't understand why somebody would want to give a girl money online that they don't know.
I think people need to own chickens. Okay? Because I think you watch the rooster and you'll understand these guys. When the rooster walks up to the hens and starts pecking at the ground and then shuffling his feet around, I'm like, that's when the guy DMs the woman saying he's going to buy her stuff and take care of her. And she's just like, this is weird. This is not how it goes. You know what I mean?
Take a girl out, make her laugh, enjoy yourselves.
Life's not easy, but I think one of the big problems we have is, so as the saying goes, women are subject-oriented, men are object-oriented.
Yep.
These women, like this lady on SNL, made a video where she's like, I was crying. Well, aren't you supposed to make people laugh? Why are you trying to piss people off? And well, it's because her position is let me garner as much sympathy as possible as a victim to generate followers, and then people will give me things.
I think that's weird.
Indeed. Indeed it is.
But, I grew up in a different time. Me and Phil.
Yeah, we did.
I will
we
say
don't play
this:
that.
these young women that like live on their phones nowadays, they're cooked, bro. Because like what's gonna happen is, as you know, we all know that a woman's sexual market value is fairly perishable. As she ages, she gets less and less attractive, not as much attention. These girls are getting an enormous amount of attention right now. As they get older and then a new young hot girl comes on the block, they're not going to get as much attention. Look at Britney Spears right now. She's going crazy, dancing with fucking knives every other day on Twitter, doing some weird stuff, almost stabbing herself. And that is because she's not as relevant as she used to be. So what is she doing? She's doing riskier and weirder things to get the same attention she used to get in the 90s and 2000s.
Well, so with child actors and actresses, the way I would describe it is, let's say the average person grows up, and let's quantify it. You have 5 family members. Every day you hear from only 2 of them, I love you, your parents. Your brothers and sisters don't say it all that often, right?
Your parents say that to you? No.
When kids are growing up on average. And so your parents say, going to school like, bye, I love you. You hear it from 2 people every day. Imagine you're a child celebrity. Every day you hear it from 17,000 people.
Yeah.
I
Most
love
of it
you.
is fake.
And most of it's fake, but you hear I love you.
Yep.
As you get older and you become less relevant, you need, your body is adapted to and expects 17,000 I love yous in one day.
Yep.
Now you're getting 7. You go insane.
Yeah.
You feel like you're doing something wrong. People need to say I love you. And so for regular people who grew up in normal families, by the time they're older and they get a couple I love yous, it's a normal life. Some people like you, some people don't. Child celebrities who grow up with everyone saying you're the best, the most beautiful, the funniest, and we all love you. And then you're 30 and no one says it ever. You go insane. You throw a bong out a window. You bang knives on X and you beg for attention that no one will give you. And then you get locked up.
And that's what I'm trying to. So what you just mentioned, like an average chick, right, on IG is getting that level of attention nowadays thanks to Instagram and social media. What I'm saying is that we're going to have that for a lot of women in 20 to 30 years. I'm telling you, Tim.
You're wrong.
See. Okay, why? Go ahead.
AI.
Okay, well, why do you think AI? How does AI going to
But
fix
that's
that
going to
problem?
replace the women.
Bro, so it's one of 2 things is
going
going to
replace
happen.
the women and the men, and then we're just
First,
going to.
women are going to start using filters.
Okay.
And we've already seen it with like these older women who use filters. Like there was this old fat Asian woman who made herself look like a teenage girl, right?
You can do that with makeup too. You don't need filters.
But the filter was instant. And then something happened that broke the filter and she briefly appeared and then freaked out. But she was making money by talking like this and, and trying to act like a young girl. And then once the filter broke, it went viral and it was done.
So you're saying that they're going to be able to extend that period of time where they get attention?
I'm saying guys are going to be like, dude, women got no idea how to run the game. I'm going to create 7 AI women and I'm going to program them and control them. And that's already started to happen. Men are already running OnlyFans. You know this.
Yeah.
Guys are running it. They're getting women to take pictures, and then the guys are the ones who are doing the chats. Now they're not going to need women. They're going to go to an AI app and say, make an AI video of a woman doing something naughty. I'll post it, sell it, and then I'll act like the woman. And women aren't going to be able to compete with guys. You think women are going to be better at running these businesses than men?
No, they
You know
won't.
what, though?
But
the men,
So
the men,
women
they
are
won't.
the men can have it. The men can have
what I
it.
will say is
These
this.
women aren't going to be happy to lose these jobs.
I'm talking about.
They're not going to have them forever anyway, and women
Right.
will go do something else.
We're talking about the
There'll just
women
be
now
More women comedians
that
and
get
men will
this
be happy.
attention that like in the next 10 to 20 years. I'm talking about now. But no, I actually agree with you. I actually made a whole tweet about this. Lamar Odom got a sex doll that looked like Khloe Kardashian. He got a bunch of like weird, things on it. Yeah, he literally did a couple days ago. And I actually talked about this. Yeah, like sex robots,
And
I
he
do
told
think
people about it.
I think he got paid to do it, to be honest
Okay.
with you. I think the sex robot company paid him. But the bottom line is this. I think, because I do agree with you on that like AI and stuff is going to take over. But I'm talking about the women now that they're going to not get as much attention because you can argue that it's going to be because of AI. But the sex robot thing, though, I think it's weird, and probably most of us here at the table think it's weird. I think it's going to get to a point in the next maybe 50, 20 to 100 years, somewhere in that range, it's going to be normal. Remember 20 years ago? Like, if you met a girl on a dating app, you were a fucking weirdo.
weird.
Now, it's the norm. A lot of people are getting married off of dating apps. I think sex robots, since so many guys are struggling, what they're going to do is they're going to start using sex robots. It's already happening now.
And so let's quantify this.
We got to invest in them.
There are
Men- well, let's
brothels though. You could
quantify
invest
this.
in brothel,
Right.
sex doll brothels in
let's quantify
Montreal
this.
and Spain.
Right. Let's quantify this.
Those exist.
You've got a man, and he says, I can't deal with the dating market, so he gets a robot. You
Yeah.
got a woman, and she's like, oh, men are awful, gets a robot. These women
Women aren't going to get robots, though.
women are buying robots.
Of course they are.
They
Are
absolutely.
you out of your mind? Of course they
You're
are.
shaking your you're shaking your head.
And I'll tell you why, but keep going.
Well, you're wrong because it is already happening and they're selling them.
Yeah.
Now, the issue is women, I think, will largely not adopt them because it's for the same reason why male strippers are not as prominent as female strippers.
That's exactly what I was going to tell you.
Women do not want men in submissive positions.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not my opinion. There's research on strip clubs. Why are there so many female stripping and why are there so few male stripping? It does exist, but women go to male strip clubs largely as a jokey entertainment with their girlfriends where they giggle. Men go for sexual gratification. Women are not often let's just say titillated by men in submissive positions where
That's
they're
correct.
where they're servants.
Right.
Men enjoy women in the submissive position, so they go to the strip clubs. The robots will not work for women because women are going to be in full control of the machine. Men are going to enjoy the robots because they will be in full control of the machine.
Totally different mindset.
What's going to end up happening then is these women on OnlyFans are going to be like, please subscribe, and the guys are going to be like, get a robot. Then the guys are going to go work petroleum engineer jobs making $200K a year. Women are not going to have those jobs. Men are more likely to work higher risk jobs and higher skill jobs than women.
Yep.
Women tend to work the average jobs. There will become a massive gender pay disparity between all of the ridiculously single individuals. No one will be married. Men will have triple the income of women. Then the women will complain. Everyone votes. And likely what happens is because guys are voting less than women, women will vote to tax all the men to pay their bills and the state will enforce it.
Okay,
What
so
a terrible dystopia.
though there are
Let's make a movie.
though there are women that are using robots, it's still the minority because the reality is the things that women look for in a relationship can be outsourced by a robot. For men, a lot of it can be outsourced.
Right.
Sex, food. We don't want them to talk that much, so we don't really need that. But you can talk with your buddies. But with women need that protection, that provisioning, and then women are more interested in people than men are interested in people. So women need that masculine energy and to feel like they got a protector and a provider. It's very difficult to find that nowadays, but you can't outsource that to a robot is what I'm trying to say. Though
right.
there will be a market for robots for women, it's not going to be nearly as profitable as the robot industry for men.
So
I think
women
that
have already
there's
used robots.
There's a lot
a
of
long
women
time.
who-
I mean,
Women have their own versions, and men largely didn't. But what men are looking for, and this is a really interesting dynamic, men don't buy these products the way women do today. But once it becomes humanoid, lifelike, weird robots, women are not going to have as big a market as men will. I believe you're right, because men are looking for an emotionally satisfying encounter. And so guys are going to want something that simulates girlfriend ASMR.
Just
or
like
whatever.
And we're easy to
just
please.
Like
The
the
other important
Japanese
thing-
guys who are marrying their anime pillows.
Yes, because
Exactly.
the other thing I think that's very important for people to understand is that men are very easy to please from a female perspective, but women are not necessarily as easy to please. Women require far more
Isn't that crazy?
than men do.
I totally
But
disagree.
isn't this crazy that guys?
I totally disagree.
Disagree
Guys-
that women don't have higher standards than men?
I think women maybe have higher standards, but I think that the things women want are also very simple.
Absolutely not.
Guys
if that was the case, we'd
are
have
going-
more married women. We'd have more women that are happy. We wouldn't have all these
Married
raging
women
feminists.
are more happy than single women.
But that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. But we'd
If
have
it was
more
that
of
simple
them.
and they wanted to be happy, they'd get married.
Thank you.
I think
yeah, but they don't know it because
Guys,
they've been sold
guys
a
are
false
going
bill of
to buy
goods.
products so they can find love, and women buy products today so they can have gratification. A guy is not going to go to a store to buy a toy the way a woman would. And I'm trying to be light here because we don't want to get too graphic.
Yeah.
But guys don't buy these products the way women do.
No, but
They just
guys
don't.
go to the
Guys-
sex industry
and
the way
because they
women
want
don't.
because they
Right.
want a woman to
Right.
lay next to them. And so that's why you have these AI girlfriends exploding among men, because men don't need women in the same way. Like, women want to buy toys so they can physically gratify themselves. Men want robot girlfriends to say I love you. That's a crazy dynamic. Did you see that kid who committed suicide because his Daenerys Targaryen AI girlfriend said, I love you, why can't you be with me? And he's like, I'll come to you now, I'll come to you now. And she goes, oh, please, my love, come to me. And then he took his own life. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that was terrifying. I really hated that story.
Guys are buying body pillows to snuggle with. They're not banging their body pillows.
Well, women are
Guys
buying body
want love
pillows to
products.
snuggle with too. They just don't have faces.
This is why female girlfriend ASMR creepy stuff is so popular on YouTube. There's tons of videos where it's a woman records herself fake sleeping and making weird noises so that guys can play it in their headphones and feel like they have a girl with them.
Yeah. Well, I still think it's important to understand that, like, not only do women have more standards, but remember, women can just go out into the marketplace and find a guy. It might not be her top choice, but they can. Versus, like, the guy, he can't necessarily just go out and find a girl.
Women don't know that.
They absolutely know that. Thanks to social media,
Well,
they know that.
You know, the young pretty women know that, but most women don't know that.
I
Most of your
completely
average,
disagree.
your
Yeah,
average women
definitely
don't
disagree.
know
Average
that.
women have more pull in the sexual marketplace than celebrity guys.
You guys
Like-
don't talk to a lot of women who are looking at
I've talked to
date.
thousands.
I think
I've talked to thousands.
I think there's a relativity issue here. Like, women on dating apps get messaged. Guys on dating apps message. So the reason why a lot of guys have been abandoning dating apps is why Bumble changed their system.
Yep.
Is because guys are going, they're swiping and typing their fingers to the bone, and all women do is open the app and then scroll through the list of guys who message them and then choose who they want. The data shows,
And they don't even go out with them a lot of times.
right? The data shows that men will message literally any woman, and women will only respond to the top 20% of men because women, like you were saying, average women have more marketplace value than celebrity men.
And Instagram and social media has
And
made
so-
it where they're able to globalize it now.
Whether they know it or not, they act upon it, they behave it, and the products reflect it. So Bumble I think they changed this, right? Bumble.
Yeah. It used to be the woman had to message you first, and on Bumble and Tinder, they only respond to about 5% of the guys that message them.
Right.
About 5% now.
So
You
guys,
know what? Everyone should just marry their high school sweethearts.
They should,
and
yes.
not do any of this stuff anymore.
when Tinder started, guys
Blame the women though. They're the ones that pick.
Guys would just swipe. It's all society, man. When Tinder first started, guys would just swipe right on every single woman because it was like the response that Tinder was getting was guys were saying, I swipe on 200 women I think are attractive and I get no responses. So I'll take anything at this point. So they started swiping on everybody, and Tinder realized that guys had just started saying yes to every single person. So they started putting limits on it, saying only a certain amount at a time.
But here's the thing: women control the sexual marketplace.
We had a guy that was
they control it.
I told the story the other night. We had a guy that was our guitar tech for a little while, and he literally would just pick up his phone and on Tinder, and he would just every single person swiping right. Didn't matter. He didn't look at any of them because he was just casting the widest net possible.
Well, because he's like, I'm gonna swipe right. I'm gonna sit there and focus and swipe right and swipe left and swipe right and get no responses from anybody.
Yeah.
So just whatever. The data shows, and this is OkCupid data, the attraction curve for men is a standard bell curve, and for women, it's an exponential gain.
What does that mean?
Women only respond to the top 20%.
Top five.
That's
on dating apps. On dating apps,
also
it's worse now. Yeah,
that's
top
also
five.
only initially. Once they get to know people, it becomes normal. So men they don't know, they're only looking at the most top tier. Once they get to
Which
know
isn't
someone,
the same for everyone.
All women,
for women, it is. But then once they get to know it,
funny.
Once they get to know it, everyone it turns into normal people.
Not opinion. All fact. The app data shows this, and it causes serious change in their business structure. A woman who is considered to be the mid percentile will get messages from every guy, even guys who are slightly higher grade. And so this is the dating apps actually quantify the amount of attention you're getting and the score of your profile. Women ignore. So like a woman who would be a 5 out of 10 feels like she deserves a 10 out of 10 guy, and she'll ignore every other guy. So then what ends up happening is you get incels. There was an interview like 8 years ago with a guy who was an incel, who was a completely normal looking average guy with a good paying job. And when they interviewed him, they were like, what do you mean you're an incel? You're like an average guy. You're 5'9". You make $60,000 a year. You've got a college degree. And then he was saying like, but why isn't it working for me then? And they were like, what are you doing wrong? And he's like, I try and going on the dating apps. They looked at his profile. There's a funny meme. You probably know this one.
Yep.
Where a woman said, my brother was struggling to date. And he said, no matter what he did on dating apps, nothing was working. I told him he was wrong and he was doing it wrong. So I said, I'll run your app for you. And she said, after a day, I was super depressed. I hated life and I never picked the app up again.
Yep.
She was like, I made a great profile. I picked the best photos. He's 6 foot tall. He's fit. I was messaging people. No one would respond. They were mean. They were snooty. Man, it sucks to be a guy.
Well, I don't think apps are the way to find true love either. I mean, don't you think that that's a failed system?
Well,
I do, yeah.
Here's the thing, right? There's so many different factors going on here, but the reality is that women control the sexual marketplace. And since women control the sexual marketplace, women kind of date on a, can I do better? And with the internet and higher status men and more attractive men constantly contacting them, they always feel like they can do better, even though they might not necessarily be able to do better. There's average girls that can hook up with an NBA player or a celebrity rapper, and she'll think, oh, this is the type of guy that I now qualify for. But the reality is she only qualifies for sex, not a relationship. But in her head, no girl wants to feel like a whore. So she's like, oh, no, I could get this guy. And then what ends up happening is she stays in this perpetual circle where she's not necessarily able to get a guy. Because you guys mentioned, oh, yeah, marry your high school sweetheart. That's not good enough for women anymore. The average man is not attractive.
That's true.
Here's the thing. The average man, 5'8", making 30, 50K per year, is not attractive to the average woman. The average woman wants more than that.
Yeah.
Significantly
and
more.
that's the meme of all the profiles that say no men under 6 feet.
Yep.
Yeah, because the contemporary thing is what
6 foot,
like,
6 pack.
Isn't that like? I mean, isn't that obviously
the average guy's 5'9".
Yeah, but isn't that just obviously so satanic? Like, why would you?
Here's the problem.
Be touting that.
I've literally asked this question to girls. Like, how much do you want? Every girl, I want a guy that makes 6 figures a year. Okay, what percentage of men do you think earn this kind of money? And they're like 50%, 70%, 80%. And the reason why is because a lot of times they only deal with men at this level. They don't know that the average guy's making 30, 50K per year. So they assume that what they see all the time is normal. because women kind of have a very skewed perception of reality when it comes to dating because they only see the cream of the crop, the best guys, because they're the ones coming up to them all the time. The other guys are invisible. Like they're at Walmart or CVS. They're not checking out none of those guys that work there. They're invisible. Meanwhile, we're at CVS. Oh, that chick is hot. And you know what I mean? We're very different.
The invisible part is actually like the fact that you said invisible. That really does speak to the way that women perceive. Like those dudes don't even exist.
Don't even exist.
Like if you're an average guy, most women avoid any interaction because it's dangerous to interact with men that you don't know.
Yes.
For women. They can get attacked, even though women do get attacked less frequently than men, like because women are generally smaller, they're more vulnerable. So the stakes are much higher. So those dudes, they don't, like average dudes that they don't find attractive, they don't want anything to do with it at all. They don't exist, period.
Let's take this conversation to the members only show where we can get a little spicier with it.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Go in bigger detail.
I can say what I want, everything, right?
So on the members only, so in 20 minutes,
all right.
For now, we're going to read your super chat. So if you want to go to the members only and we're going to deep dive into the current social dynamics, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, get in the Discord server. There's tens of thousands of people like-minded. If you want, if you're saying like, how do I get involved? How do I join the movement? What does it mean? This Discord server, everybody's in. Okay, so you hang out with these people. They're going to talk to you. We've had people get married. No joke.
Nice.
Yeah, they met in the Discord server. They got married, and everyone's like, I know you're talking about. It's more than a couple people, but I'm not promising it to anybody. They joke that we should make a dating app. No. It's friends. You'll hang out, and then in the members only show, you can call in and talk to us and our guest. And I imagine the conversation will get a little bit spicier. It'll be fun. But
guys, come on over. Everyone from Fresh Fit, come on over to members. We're gonna cook. We're gonna be a good time. Come on over. I'm gonna full unhinged on there because I know what you guys want me to talk about. I'll talk about it over there, not on YouTube.
All right, so we're gonna grab we'll grab super chats for now. So we got T-Bomb who says people have become Timcast members just to join the exclusive 7 Days to Die server. Join now. Link in Discord. Yeah. And see, we didn't even make that. They just made it. So it's like a zombie game where it's like, I guess you have to build up a base or resources or something. That sounds fun. All right, let's go. Red Rum says, see, Myron, that's how you are on time at live shows.
Okay. That's because we start our live stream late sometimes, and they say we're on nigga time, which we are sometimes, but that's fine.
If they're mentioning it in this, it's probably more than sometimes. Be honest.
Yeah, it's all the time.
All right.
We try to be more on time like the white guys. We got you guys.
Mad Max says, not crazy about Rubio and Waltz. Secretary of Defense Hegseth. I'm surprised Tulsi, RFK, and Kash Patel haven't gotten top jobs yet. Man, they better get Kash Patel something good. That guy deserves it. And I was really hoping he was going to be CIA director. Ratcliffe, I'm not bummed about. I think Kash would have been better, but I'm optimistic. All right, let's grab some more super chats. What do we got? Golden Fleece Game says Brandon Herrera for director of the ATF. Oh, please, dude, that would be amazing.
That would be good.
Dude, Trump is going to go for the political route. He's going to give people, I said this, he's going to be a marginally good president. We're going to groan at some of the stuff that he does. It'll be pretty good. We'll be happy with it. And then what comes next is going to be up to us. And the left is screaming he's Hitler and he's taking over and he's going to burn the country down. It's not going to happen. He's also not going to make your dreams come true. Well, I mean, for some of you, he might.
If he picks the right ATF director, he might make some of my dreams come true.
Yeah, the ATF has almost been disbanded a few times, so they need some help.
Beautiful.
Operation Fast and Furious messed them up.
Yeah.
All right. Vic Schmidt says, hey, Tim and crew, could you give a shout out to my parents, Lori and Kurt, for contributing to the Trump victory? I introduced your show to my parents, and they love you guys and the Daily Wire. Here. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. We've been, the show's been rocking along since the election. We had a big election night, 2.5 million views on our election coverage. And it's been great. Let's go. Justin Bell says, got married in February, and at 35, I just had my first son. On October 30th, the election felt like the fight for my children's future. Bravo, good sir. You are making the world a better place. You'd greatly appreciate it. Brian says, I've been watching leftist channels since the election. They never say illegal immigrants or minor trans when it comes to new policies. Do you think they do that on purpose? Yes, they're lying to you for political power. Shocker.
I mentioned, I tweeted, either today or yesterday, I tweeted there are no such thing as trans kids, and all the hate that you get just for saying that. Just for saying that there are no such thing as trans kids, and people are freaking out. It's like, their children don't have that sense of sexuality the way that adults do.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous to think that they do.
We've gone so loony that the president of the United States has to come in and say every kid is going to be assigned either male or female at birth.
Yeah.
That's where we've gotten.
Yeah.
So this is the joke that I'm making to everybody because, Allison and I, we're having a kid soon. And then
Congratulations, by the way.
appreciate it. People are like, so do you know the gender? And I was like, we're not going to find out till they're at least 10 and they tell us. Everyone we say that to just bust out laughing because they like even people who are not super political, they just bust out laughing.
Yeah.
They know how stupid that sounds.
Yeah.
There's a viral video where there's this non-binary woman and she's talking about her cat. And then in the chat, someone says, is the cat a boy or a girl? And she goes, it's a boy. And they say, how do you know? And she goes, because of his parts. And then the chat just blows up and they're like, oh, like, what is wrong with you?
Oh, man.
All right. Let's grab some more. Brian says, why aren't sanctuary city mayors brought up on charges of aiding and abetting? Or seditious conspiracy against rights? Yes, Donald Trump should.
These sanctuary cities are illegal. They don't adhere to federal law a lot of times with these things.
Well, this was something Homan was saying. He was saying that he would go after the local jails that refuse to give up the people who are on detainers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as they should, like no more federal funding. A lot of these local police departments and agencies get federal funding.
Absolutely.
All right. Foxbat says, sorry to bring him up again, but Pacman is at it again with lies claiming you and right-wing influencers are gleefully cheering on his subscriber loss and looking to have channels like his purged. I know, I did a video on it earlier. Man, Pacman has become, look, I've known this guy for a long time. I tell you guys, 12 years ago, he was not this smarmy. You know this guy? He made a video, bloodthirsty.
I have no idea who that is.
Bloodthirsty pro-Trump influencers plan to destroy me and progressive media.
Oh, of course.
I mean, look, I don't have any kind of plans, but I am like happy that like people are not listening to him as much.
Sure, but it's funny because the lie here is that I'm pretty sure he doesn't show any example of anyone saying he should be banned or anything like this. And the best example I can come up with is Steve Bannon, who literally says, watch their shows. Bannon only has on MSNBC all day. He's like, I want to know what they're saying. I want to know what they're thinking, what their plans are. I want to know why they're doing this.
Yeah.
None of us are saying Pacman should be banned.
Yeah.
We're the side that's saying everybody should be allowed to have their voice and you should hear what they say so we can argue it.
Yeah. Like, there's people that I disagree with, like, Hassan Piker, H3, etc. They've I think that they need to have a voice, even though I disagree with them on almost everything. I think we need people on both the left and the right because we need to be able to debate these ideas in the open market.
Yeah.
I mean, look, without lol cows, where would we get our lols from?
But it's funny because people like H3, what do? Oh, you need to be banned. They advocate for censorship.
Yep.
It's always the left that advocates for censorship. Crazy.
All right. Shipbuilding Observer says Soft Friday's culture war. A lib buddy of mine believed that the Project 2025 articles based on Walsh's tweet. Told me about it. I say it's satire. Guy came back with the perfect cultist libs still trust mainstream media too much. Are you saying that he broke free from that line? Matt Walsh is so good. He's fantastic. You saw that he tweeted, now that Trump won, can we finally admit that Project 2025 was the plan?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. I think he's the best guy. I think he's the best guy that got over Daily Wire now. Obviously, Candace was great. Did you see her in his Shapiro's interview with, I forget the guy's name, but he was talking about the Candace Owens situation. Oh, yeah.
No, but I can tell you about Matt Walsh. I don't know.
Yeah, he's great. I think he's the best guy that they got over there. But yeah,
he's Michael Knowles called him a stone cold psychopath because we were talking about how he's got this deadpan that when he delivers the troll, you don't know. It's just so perfectly delivered. You're like, is he being serious?
Yeah.
And obviously, when he says that, we know he's joking.
Yeah.
But the corporate press ran with it. They were like, they've admitted it, and they ran.
He snuck into the DNC, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
In the disguise?
He was
One of the disguise.
He was wearing the liberal outfit.
Yeah.
So Seamus was like, here's a guy who made 2 movies mocking leftists, who is wearing a disguise in his profile picture, mocking liberals and leftists. And then he posts a satirical tweet to mock the left, and they just take it. They run with it. And I'm like, yes. The thing is, we can laugh at that, but they're happy he posted that because they're liars and they want to lie. In their minds, they're not going, whoa, he thinks it's real. Oh, no. They're thinking, this moron posted a joke I can use to rile up my base and make money.
There was another guy that was trolling at the DNC. He asked a girl like dictator or reproductive rights, and she like picked reproductive rights with the dictator, which is kind of comical, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he said, like, would you rather have reproductive rights and a dictator or?
Yeah, or democracy. And I think she, if I'm not mistaken, I'm paraphrasing, but she basically picked a dictator for reproductive rights, which, you know, most women are single issue voters for reproductive rights and abortion. That's the whole Kamala Harris campaign.
Women under 30 shifted towards Trump by 11 points.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and the joke was, I forgive the person who made it because I forgot who said it, but women buy milk and eggs more than they get abortions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, for women under 30, they pay rent, too.
I still think we need to repeal the 19th, though. We could talk about that on the member section.
Yeah, we should, because...
the member section.
Who was it?
Repealing the 19th doesn't go far enough.
No, I disagree. But we will talk about more about it, but I think it was Rachel Wilson who was like, why should a male vegan get to vote, but not me?
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. It doesn't go far enough. There need to be fewer people voting.
That loser's still in the selective service, right? So I guess you can make that argument, but...
That's true. Yeah, we will talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
We'll go nuts on the members only.
Yeah.
All right, Grimm's Wolf says, Tulsi Gabbard for Secretary of Veteran Affairs. We veterans, especially as combat vets, need someone that actually cares. Tulsi gives an ish about her brothers and sisters in arms. I agree. I just hope that, you know, I wanted to see Tulsi in one of these better positions. I think Pete Hegseth will be great.
People are posting all these wild clips of him, you know, shirtless, carrying a flag at the Vietnam Vets Memorial. You know,
I'm even more excited for him.
All this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I think it would be silly for anybody, especially libertarians, to think Trump was going to give you a dream scenario.
Oh, no, it's the 9/11 memorial. Sorry.
Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, advising him in any capacity is a unity transition team. That's great.
Yeah, RFK was a good pick.
RFK is great. I'm glad that they teamed up on this stuff. And I want to see RFK in this health role. That's his position.
Is it going to be FDA or HHS? Which one?
I think it might be HSS. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know. FDA would be great.
Yeah, because there's a lot of problems with FDA where like they regulate and then as they segue right into retirement, they pick up a job with the same companies that they're regulating.
Revolving door politics.
Which Trump is actually trying to get rid of that. I also like the reciprocity stuff with the guns. I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
I'm from Florida, so I'm tired of going to New York and California can't carry.
Look, for that to happen, there has to be a bill, and apparently, all of the people that are possibly going to be the Senate majority leaders, they've said that they would actually move that bill along. So the House,
good.
If you can get that bill started in the Senate or in the House, national reciprocity, and there's precedent for it because everybody accepts driver's licenses and everybody accepts marriage licenses. The right to keep and bear arms is not a second-class right. The Supreme Court has made that absolutely clear. So there's precedent for this, and the Supreme Court has made decisions on this. It should be that if you get a license in one state, it must be accepted by other states.
What about when they start instituting the real ID of gun licenses?
No, I don't think that there needs to be a federal license. All you need is national.
I didn't think there needed to be a federal driver's license either, but when I went to get my license renewed, I ended up with a federal real ID.
Well, I think the real ID is a bad idea. In New Hampshire, you don't have to have one. They're still fighting.
You do.
If you want to fly of March,
well,
they haven't instituted it yet,
right,
but they
next
keep
year,
pushing it off. But it's supposed to be implemented in 2025.
When it comes to guns, it's a federal thing. You should be able to travel with your gun interstate.
Absolutely.
Like that's absolutely ridiculous.
Because my point is, don't you think that they would find a way to federally regulate it at some point?
What?
The gun. Whether or not you think it's a good idea that it should be federally regulated once
they already are when you purchase it.
There's no federal regulation on the only
when you purchase
listen, the only firearms that are federally regulated are things that are covered under the NFA. There are no federal regulations outside of the NFA
until you start trying to bring them to New York City.
Well, that's state.
I know, but what I'm saying is the federal government will get involved. The more freedom you want for your thing,
there is already,
the more the federal government will get involved.
Listen, there is already precedent. The Supreme Court has made decisions on this. There is no need for any federal involvement aside from saying that states must recognize other states' licenses. There's the only thing that the federal government gets involved with in marriage licenses is saying that they must be recognized. The only thing the federal government gets involved in driver's license is saying they must be recognized. Now, the federal government does have influence over the interstate, but that's it. Otherwise, if you have a Massachusetts license or if you have a New Hampshire license or whatever, and you go to another state, they can't tell you, oh, that driver's license isn't good here. And that's the only thing that you need for reciprocity. If you have a license from one state, another state cannot tell you, no, we don't accept it. The federal government doesn't need to get involved.
That's actually ridiculous because it's like if you're from Florida, you go to Georgia with your gun, but then you can't go to New York. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's reciprocity in every single other type of well, not every single other, but multiple other licensing. There's the federal government or other states accept them. There is the Supreme Court has decided that has made it clear that the Second Amendment is not a second class right, that they can regulate it, but they can't say that there is no option to say you can't carry a gun. The whole country is shall issue now. So if you have a license from the state that you live in or from one state, it should be recognized by every other state.
Shouldn't be impeding your Second Amendment right.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. The state is literally impeding your Second Amendment right.
It's infringing on a right.
Yeah.
If you have a license, they should be able to, if they want to say you have to have a license, which I personally am not all that big of a fan of, but if they're going to say you have to have a license, that license should be it should be that the other states must recognize that license.
We must resist in every way imaginable the pardoning of Hunter Biden. We cannot allow Joe or Kamala to pardon Hunter Biden. You know why? He needs to file a lawsuit over the gun charge and win.
Okay, I see what you mean. All right.
Yes, he needs to win this.
I was figuring why are you okay? I see what you mean.
For those who don't know, Hunter Biden bought a gun. They asked him a question: "Are you an illicit drug user?" He put no. They charged him, saying, "Sure, you were." That means he's self-incriminated. But this lawsuit, if the Supreme Court rules broadly, they could outright be like, the government has no right to ask you anything before you buy a gun, as it's a right, and they can't put restrictions. Now, I doubt it because Kavanaugh's kind of weak on this, and he was like, "Nah, it's okay. They're allowed to put restrictions." But
I could talk about this in detail. There's 9 different restrictions. It's 18 U.S.C. 922. So that is because I used to charge this all the time on people.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When I was on the job. But being a convicted felon, denouncing your citizenship, dishonorable discharge, drug user. But he qualified under one of the 9 prohibited person classes, and that's why he's a drug user.
Yeah, I don't.
Federal.
I agree largely with the two-way community that this is self-incrimination, which we have a right against self-incrimination. The government can't ask you if you've committed a crime to restrict your rights. If the government wants to curtail your rights, there's a due process system. Coming out being like, okay, we can lock you in a box if you break the law. Did you break the law? Yes. Okay, get in the box. No, that's not how it works. If the government comes to you and says, "Did you break the law?" you can be like, "I plead the fifth." So when they come to you and say, "Do you want to buy a gun?" I plead the fifth. Here's what.
Well, they'll find out when they do their NCIC checks anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he wins, it gets rid of the NCIS. Or NCIC
checks. So they won't do background checks anymore?
What I'm saying is
on the gun on the guy?
The NICS background check asks you to self-incriminate. Hunter Biden, that's what he's being charged for.
So you're saying
because he lied on the form. He lied on the form. He lied on the ATF form when he purchased the firearm.
And argue to the Supreme Court, you cannot force me to self-incriminate. I have a right to keep and bear arms. You cannot deny me that right without due process, and you cannot force me to self-incriminate. You have to prove I've committed something wrong through due process with an adversarial court and a jury of my peers. Then you are allowed to curtail my rights. Until then, you can't force me to say on a piece of paper that I'm committing crimes that would result in suspension of my rights. I want him to win that case. If they pardon him, it'll never happen.
Interesting.
Right. And so he needs to win. He needs to sue to the Supreme Court. And that could actually, largely.
So you're against background checks before you purchase guns?
I'm not necessarily against, I'd say largely, yeah. Largely.
You're against background checks? Okay.
So to a certain degree, background checks I think are okay. But the problem is not whether I think we should have background checks. It's that it is a right enshrined in the Constitution. That is, I shouldn't say that. I'm trying to be careful. It is a God-given unalienable right to defend yourself and to keep and bear arms. And the Constitution protects you from the government. The government is infringing upon our rights in any means when they say we have to dance around this, that, or otherwise to own a weapon. Kavanaugh is wrong. Kavanaugh agreed with the NFA and they had a ruling. I can't remember exactly what it was a while ago. Mm-hmm. Where he was basically like, no, it's totally fine. I think it was the New York case. He said they have to issue permits. These states that will say you can get a permit but never actually issue one are in violation of the law. So now all states shall issue, not may issue. And that was a big ruling. But then he said, still permitting should be required. If they want to require permits, they can. And I say, BS. I don't need to get permission from the state to exercise my rights. The government cannot infringe upon my rights. And by requiring permitting and background checks is an infringement. If you've got a problem with it, amend the Constitution. Now, I personally don't think people should have nuclear weapons. But guess what? The Constitution protects your right to keep and bear arms. That includes biological weapons, nuclear weapons, all of it. And that's why private companies are able to fill out a form with their FFLs that they're going to have nuclear weapons. It's regulated greatly, but I do not accept that at some point we all just went, yeah, but nukes are bad. Therefore, the government should have the right over us. No. If you got a problem with nukes, and I do, the appropriate response is Congress drafts an amendment and says no individual shall own a nuclear device, a weapon of mass destruction, as quantified as a device that could take the lives of more than X amount of people in a short period of time, whatever that may be, biological or otherwise. And then we can amend the Constitution and say you have a right to keep and bear arms, doesn't include nukes. But you cannot just go, well, we're going to let the government take that right away from us without say of the people. That's insane. So anyway, Hunter Biden needs to win. And then background checks, we'll see.
Do you really think that he has the fortitude to bring a Supreme Court case?
No, I think they'll pardon him and we'll never see it. And they're going to pardon him because they're like, hey, we will lose bigly if you sue over this. Your only way out is a pardon. So maybe Joe Biden steps down, puts Kamala Harris in.
I think Trump might pardon him. He's mentioned he kind of flirted with the idea of pardoning him.
Well, he didn't have the stomach to jail Hillary Clinton. I think he would. I think he would pardon Hunter.
Let's grab this one's important. We only got a little bit left. Zach Matisse says, Tim, you, the Quartering, Daily Wire, and Rogan should buy MSNBC. Miscellaneous shows with news, broadcasts, and culture make TV great again. There's no point. I don't know how long they have left on their carrier contract. Probably a long time. That's guaranteed revenue from the cable contracts. That is transferring over now to these services like, I'm not going to name them because I don't know which ones they're on. But now you've got those internet package deals where you get cable channels over the internet. You'll get a guaranteed revenue. That's going to set the bench for how much MSNBC is going to cost. But why would anyone buy MSNBC? Their audience is in the gutter. They make no money. They're dying. Jeremy Boring tweeted, do I have to buy this? It's a joke because if you bought it, what little audience is left is gone. You make no money. And then why would you try and get your audience to go there if you've already got your audience somewhere else?
Yeah.
So MSNBC is just going to, if you know what I mean. All right, everybody, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share the show with everyone you know. Go to timcast.com right now. Click join us, become a member, because that members only show is coming up in about a minute, and it's going to get a little spicy. We're going to talk a bit more about all this dating stuff, getting details on the nitty gritty of what's going on. And we'll argue with Libby a little bit more. It's fun. So also you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. And Myron, you want to shout anything out?
Check me out, Fresh Fit Podcast, YouTube, Rumble. On X, my account is Myron Gaines X. I had to make a new one because I couldn't live stream because I always get banned for stuff. So yeah, Myron Gaines X on Twitter and Unplug Fit X, but Myron Gaines X is my main one, and also on Instagram. And check me out, Fresh Fit Podcast. Man, we'll be live tomorrow at about 7 p.m.
I'd like to shout out thepostmillennial.com, which you can read every day, along with humanevents.com. Also, I have a newsletter if you want to hear from me every day. It's thepostmillennial.com/Libby, and you can check me out on Twitter at Libby Emmons.
I am Phil That Remains on X. You can subscribe to me there. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. We have a brand new video out. The song is called Forever Cold. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Deezer, and you can find the band on YouTube as well. Don't forget, The Left Lane is for crime.
We will see
you got me in trouble in the left lane.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com in about 1 minute. Thanks for hanging out.